I now request Ms. Sai Ambika to introduce our speaker to the audience.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to one and all. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Shri Ravi Pandey, sir, Research Establishment Officer, Innovation and Incubation at IIT Kanpur, managing innovation and incubation activities. Sir has MSc in Biotechnology, followed by LLB and PG Diploma in IPR and Cyber Laws. He is qualified RTTP and has certifications in IPR management from WIPO, Switzerland and Europe Patent Office. Sir has 9 years of experience in domain work, which involves IPR management, including policy development, technology evaluation, technology transfer and startup incubation. He has formulated the IPR policy, staff entrepreneurship and faculty entrepreneurship policy of IIT Kanpur. Sir is also the advisor on innovation and incubation for Jharkhand government, IIT Jammu, West Bengal government, SHEI, Vidisha and Kanpur University. Sir has been awarded Outstanding Performance Award by Startup India for promotion of innovation related activities, Impactful Technology Transfer Award by AUTM USA and Master Trainer Award by European Patent Office. He is also a keynote speaker at several innovation and incubation seminars across different universities and institutions. I thank Shri Ravi Pandey, sir, for being present online to deliver his talk on innovation in ways of linking research with the teaching. Now I request sir to take over the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sai. Thank you so much for elaborating my introduction. I'm thankful to all the dignitaries and the organizing committee of this NAC-sponsored 2-day seminar. I'm also thankful to Dr. B. Anupama for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to interact with all the faculty members, and probably maybe some students are also here. So I have prepared my presentation, that is a 1-hour presentation. What I have done is initially I'll be talking about the nuances, then with some examples from the industry and how academia has done similar kind of work in innovation in ways of linking research with teaching. Then I have a 10-minute interaction session where all the participants may ask the question. So here I'm going to share my screen. The only request I have from the host of this Zoom meeting is to disable the unmute option for others, because it breaks the continuity. That is the only request I have. So is my screen visible, Dr. Sai? Dr. Ambika?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So the topic that has been given to me, innovation in ways of linking research with teaching. So not only this, but I'm also going to talk about what is the logical conclusion behind having this or such topics in academia. If I have to talk about the Autonomous College, Raja Bahadur Venkatrama Reddy Women's College, there are a lot of faculty members, a lot of students are there, lots and lots of ideas are there. Teaching is the main mandate for any academic institution, be it institute of national importance or any private university. Then comes what are the outcome of this teaching. Maybe some research publication, then there are outcomes like patent application, then there are outcomes when students are graduating, are they getting campus placements? If they want some alternative to campus placement, they may be thinking about from the perspective of having a startup or an entrepreneurial route. So all these are outcomes associated with academia. Now we have to talk about innovation in ways of linking research with teaching. So teaching we are already doing for several years. Linking research we have been doing. What are the innovations that have been done at my place and what I have observed that I'm going to talk about. There are few definitions that we need to understand that are directly linked with innovation in ways of research and teaching. So entrepreneurship and innovation, these are two soft skills, or in layman language, we call it literary definition, where an entrepreneur is someone who works in an organization, who has an opportunity, develops an idea, takes it to the next level for the betterment of an organization. Now, please don't misinterpret with a product only. Entrepreneur doesn't only means that he's only ideating, prototyping, then he's going ahead. You can now see your application. Okay, going ahead with the fabrication of the device. It's not like that. Even an entrepreneur is working on the policy reform at a policy level, and rectification and reforming the entire process flow of an institute as well. Then also he's an entrepreneur. Illustratively, a faculty member has been teaching for a decade at an institute or an engineering college or an university. What he or she observed that there are some lectures which are often given. Maybe some content gets modified each year when the curriculum gets modified, but there are certain briefings which are done again and again, and there is a time which gets involved in giving this briefing. So what a teacher can do, what I have observed in polytechnic colleges and diploma colleges, while those teachers who have been giving briefing about the prospective practical experiments, they prepare a small video through their mobile phone. They circulate this video to all the students at least 2-3 days in advance. Nowadays, WhatsApp is quite common. And this teacher has been saving 6 to 7 minutes of briefing for each of the lecture. Within that 6 to 7 minutes, a lot of outcomes are there. First, he or she is saving his or her energy. Second, he or she is utilizing that 5 or 6 minutes of time for the weekly lecture in order to discuss more detailed part of that topic that needs to be discussed then in that specific lecture or experiment. The number 3 is the saving of this time in such a smart manner enhances the efficiency of the teacher. So this is entrepreneurship all about. This is one of the ways of linking research with teaching, what people are doing without increasing your efficiency, without getting motivated, without decreasing your workload. It is not possible to link research with teaching. Then comes the innovation. We often have heard a lot about innovation, turning an idea into a solution that adds value from a customer's perspective. So are we selling something? We as a faculty member, are we selling something into the market? The answer is no. But what are we doing? We are teaching the students who are going to join the industry partners. Maybe they are going to do some MBA, they are going to do some PhD. Further, they may become a faculty member. They may join any of the corporates or government services. Administration shall always be a part of the job prospectively, whatever domain you join. Administration and management, two things become a part and parcel for a person throughout his life, whether he is in administrative position or not. If you're not good in management, efficiency decreases and the workload also increases, and it is very difficult to survive in any of the ecosystem. So these are the ways one can think. These soft skills are very important from student perspective. These soft skills are very important from faculty members perspective. And in the West, these soft skills were promoted enthusiastically by the governments in 80s and in 90s. Nowadays, innovation in ways of linking research with teaching, these things are coming up where the colleges and accreditatory bodies like NAC, they are also thinking of sponsoring such type of programs where such type of soft skills can be discussed. So think outside the box is one of the new strategies where they are not saying that you start selling something, but innovation must come in even in academia, because these are the students who are going to represent the who are going to join the industry. And in industry, maybe academia, maybe some corporate, maybe some government colleges. So what is going to happen if this translation from faculty to student to industry this happens, then there is a outcome that then there is an outcome. I request to kindly mute. Then there is an outcome that I request Dr. Sai to kindly disable the unmute option. Then there is an outcome that contributes to the nation building. So that is the entire outcome of these soft skills. Why I have been discussing this again and again. Honorable Prime Minister has said the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan was initiated with Startup India, Digital India, digital currency. These kind of jargons were discussed. It was also emphasized that job seeker versus job creator. This is another debate. Then there's entrepreneurship versus being an employee. Then one major point which was discussed, which is common to all the domains, be it a manufacturing, be it academia, a nation is being built by 5 pillars. One is economy, infrastructure, system, demography, demand. All being faculty members, all being at least UG students, they must be knowing what the definition of all this. Now, why the government is emphasizing on innovation, linking research with teaching? What are the reasons behind this? I have a small example that I would like to share with the participants. First, we need to understand what is the entrepreneurship, what is an entrepreneur. Please, as I have mentioned, don't misinterpret with entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship starts with I, and entrepreneur is someone who does the business, trading, manufacturing.
I request everyone, please mute yourself. Sir, please continue.
So entrepreneurship is something which is restorative in nature, company culture, major challenge. Illustrative in example is there, where a faculty member requests the head of department and the college administration that I need so and so infrastructure, which costs somewhere around 50 lakh rupees in the current financial. The administration and the management, they take a call. They say, we are having some financial constraints. We are unable to provide 50 lakh rupees for this specific requirement, but we are capable enough to provide a 5 lakh rupees budget for this. Can we do the minimum resource utilization by utilizing only the 5 lakh rupees and sufficing the requirement that could have costed 50 lakh rupees? For a smaller college or for a smaller organization, 50 lakh rupees upfront as an expense is a burden. Even for larger institutions like IIT, an upfront non-plan budgetary requirement is a burden on the institute as well. So what is happening is that the employee is dependent on the company culture or the resources that you have. You cannot go beyond the resources. While entrepreneurship is completely different, where he or she can, whatever the customer demands, because the revenue is going to get generated, cash inflow is going to come out. So here is the case with entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship. So are we as a faculty member, are we teaching our students that, yes, there is an, if you are being inside an organization, are you thinking from the perspective of for the development, for the betterment of the organization? Is this the mindset that we are taking ahead? Then this is the way where we can bring innovation in research and teaching. Now I'm going to talk about one example where Amazon has done a fantastic job in promoting these soft skills, and the same can be adopted in the academia as well. Now I request all the participants, if they can answer my query, how many of you have heard about this company Amazon? At least raise your hand through chat box or through message. I will get to know that you have heard about this, or you have used about this. Okay, Shankar Singh, Dr. Jayashri. Okay, very fast it is coming. Okay, fantastic. I see lots and lots of hands. Okay, okay. Fine. So again, my question is, how many of you have heard a problem statement and a solution? There is a problem statement which is given by so and so, and then there is a working on solution. Okay, I get it. So what Amazon has done, it is a very pertinent example, and I request all the faculty members to share this example with their students as well. There is a model called as PRFAQ. Has anyone heard about this model, PRFAQ? It is a fantastic model. This can immediately be adopted in the teaching or in the academic area with immediate effect, and it has fantastic results. What Amazon and other corporates have done at least 15 years ago, now this can also be, and in other organizations like NASA has also adopted this model at least 30 years ago. And PRFAQ, let me tell you what it is all about. Amazon has made a mandatory requirement where all the employees are supposed to join this small meeting, or you can small program of PRFAQ. PRFAQ means simple. PR stands for press release, and FAQ means frequently asked questions. So what happens? Amazon provides a online form to all its employees, and it is mandatory for all the employees to participate in this program PRFAQ. The employees are being asked to think about a problem statement. A problem statement may be anything related to the company, society, and think about the solution of that as well. And they have to bring that solution and have to write in such a way in this PRFAQ form, where the press release is going to come out today only in the digital media and in the print media, and the customers are going to are supposed to know what are the advantages, how it can be used, frequently asked questions. All these kind of basic questions needs to be answered. And when this PRFAQ, each PRFAQ has to be submitted by each employee, and then this gets interchanged among the employees. They give feedback to each other. Then few selected PRFAQs, they go upstairs. They are being selected by the management or the chief technology officer. Then what happens? They think from the perspective of launching a product out of the problem statements which were discussed by the employees. How many of you have heard about products like Alexa and Amazon Fire Stick? At least a yes in chat box will suffice the requirement. Okay. Only 2, 3. So Alexa and these Fire Stick. So let me elaborate. What does Alexa? Alexa is a speech translation device wherein if you say, Alexa, play me a music, so it plays a specific music. Then there is a Fire Stick TV small device wherein if a person has a non-smart TV or a old colored or a old non-smart TV and he wants to convert it into a smart TV, then this device converts it. The problem statement was that it is quite easy to purchase a 25,000 smart TV, which is costing INR 25,000. Now, someone in the Amazon has brought this PRFAQ that there are people who love their old stuff. They do not want to sell. There are certain memories associated. There's a time associated. So they do not want to sell that stuff. So is there a solution where an old non-smart TV can also be converted into a smart TV? Someone brought out a solution in Amazon. This product, Amazon Fire Stick, was brought in. And you won't believe, a lot of people, even having a smart TV in one room, they are purchasing this Amazon Fire Stick in order to enable their non-smart TV into a smart TV. So that is a USP beauty of such type of products, which enable the customer to understand their requirements. So now here is the key point out of this PRFAQ. Why am I discussing this entire Amazon PRFAQ? That too with faculty members who are not from corporate, with students who are not right now working. Okay, let us try to inculcate this example into academia. Can we have a 6-monthly meeting or maybe an annual meeting where such type of PRFAQ can be distributed among all the faculty members in order to understand what are the shortcomings in the process flow? For example, there is a process involved in taking a leave, for taking a casual leave or maybe a on leave. Me being a government officer, whenever I am supposed to take a on leave, I have to go on the ERP system. I have to log in and request for a on leave from my reporting officer. Then my reporting officer approves it. It is up to his or her discretion. Then upon returning from the journey, I again have to give my joining report. That is the normal process for a earn leave, for taking a earn leave. In case of a half pay leave or a medical leave, I have to provide a medical certificate. These nuances are quite common among all the autonomous, all the government colleges. Now think from the perspective of those colleges or those institutes who do not have a proper ERP system. They have to take permission through written application. They have to forward their application to the in charge. Then it goes to head of department. Then there is approval. Then it comes. Imagine a situation where 5 p.m. employee or a faculty member gets to know that tomorrow there is a certain emergency. I have to take an employee. Then there's a through proper protocol. It must go to so and so. In advance, one has to give a request for a leave and so and so. Then there's a time which gets wasted over this formality. So is there a way where this problem statement is being identified by someone in the academia? He or she has said that there is a solution to it. We can forward this request amendment in the policy and the ruling to so and so management, or maybe so and so directorate, maybe so and so to the ministry, that this rule or policy may be amendment. When you are bringing policy amendment or rule amendment, this also is a kind of innovation. Please don't misinterpret only product as an innovation. Even policy reforms, rule changing is also itself as a kind of change. So when you're thinking from linking ways in innovation, these examples must be linked. Without inculcating these type of examples, PRFAQ is a very small example. There are a lot of examples which are happening in academia. Fantastic examples is happening. How many of you have heard about SIH, Smart India Hackathon? Even a yes in the chat box will suffice my question. Okay, Rumila Sitaram madam has heard it. Okay. Anyone else? Dr. Jhansi, okay. Smart India Hackathon. So my request to the college administration who have been enthusiastically taking such type of initiative nowadays, I request sir and madam to kindly register for Smart India Hackathon. This is the address for S, and currently the colleges can empanel themselves in this Smart India Hackathon. It is not necessary that only engineering colleges can join. All the institutes who would like to join and want their students to participate in such a Smart India hackathon. This is the world's biggest hackathon till now. Lakhs and lakhs of students are joining in this program. Every year it happens. IIT Kanpur is one of the nodal centers. A lot of nodal centers are there. A lot of colleges are promoting their students to join in such type of program. So what is happening is those students, whatever they have learned in their academic curricula, they are translating the same through such type of hackathons. So the problem statement is being given by the industry partners or maybe some startups, and the solution has to be brought out within next 3 to 4 or 5 days by the team of students participating in the hackathon. So that is the outcome of this hackathon. Again, this hackathon is also a refined model that has come from the industry side. So are we trying to find out some innovation in ways of linking research with teaching? So these are the examples. Without promulgating or without including these type of examples, it will be a bit difficult in promoting the innovation in an organization. And then only we shall be able to bring innovation in teaching and research. I have some innovative examples that I would like to discuss with all the faculty members. Let me think from the perspective of what was the initial discussion between a faculty member and a student when an innovation was brought out from the academia. So one day, a student from rural background was discussing a research topic with his faculty member. What he discussed with his teacher was that, sir, I belong to Bihar and Uttar Pradesh state. And the problem in my state is we do have very small agricultural fields. The land pockets are quite small. And whenever there is a farm machinery requirement, big farm machinery cannot go because it is a very small passage. And since the land pocket size is quite small, so their rentals are quite high, so I cannot afford it. So activities like seed sowing is not possible for me. So that is a reason. Is there a way that we can bring a solution to such type of problem statement? So the student and faculty member both were discussing. After a period of time, the faculty member has asked his students to work on a problem statement with his guidance, and they brought out a solution in the form of a seed sowing board. So this is a fantastic seed sowing board. If a pouch of granular seeds or granular fertilizer is being held on the waistline of a person, and the number of steps being taken by the farmer, the number of seeds get sown. So that is the beauty of this innovation that has come. And it is an outcome of academic, a PhD student discussing a problem statement that is not at all relevant with the domain of chemical engineering where the faculty member and the students were, but they brought out a solution from that. So that is a seed sowing board, innovation coming out of from the academia. On the other hand, let me illustrate, let me give you an example of another example from the academia. One day, one student from the rural background was talking to his another faculty member. He told that, sir, madam, the soil quality in so and so district of the state is not so good, well and good. In order to get a soil health card, it takes a 15 days of time. First, I have to take 4 soil samples from the 4 corner, mix it, then send the half kg soil sample to the district soil health test laboratory. It takes a 15 days of time. And in between, if there is a mix match with the soil, then there is a good morning, ma'am. Then there is a wrong projection in terms of giving the fertilizer and the pesticide and other recommended dose of fertilizer, biofertilizer, and pesticide. So what is the outcome? So the faculty member was from Department of Chemical Engineering. He said, okay, since we are already working into a sensors, why not develop a sensor-based device where a soil health can be tested in minutes? So they started working on some sensors. Near infrared LEDs were adopted, and within a period of 4 to 5 years, they developed a device. It included at least 6 MTech students and 3 PhD students who developed this device with the guidance of a faculty member. A very common problem statement, which is common in all the states, be it Telangana, Andhra, Uttar Pradesh, whatever state you talk about, the farmers issue is an issue. So they brought out a device which basically detects the soil health parameters in 90 seconds. You take a spoonful of 10% moisture, containing 10% moisture from the fields, soil sample, and pour it within the box. Within 90 seconds, within your mobile application, you will get all the contents required. It also provides the recommended dose of fertilizers and pesticides, and what are the prescribed crops that can be grown into that field. So that is the kind of innovation that has come out of academia. So are we discussing such type of problem statement with our students? Are we taking examples where are we thinking from that perspective? Oh, this is a problem statement. This is an opportunity for me. Oh, we have been teaching. Can we connect our teaching with this type of research? Can we bring out a patent application for that? Now the student must be thinking that let's have our campus placement and proceed ahead. Nowadays, campus placement, I think, and I can certainly say that in the coming days, campus placement shall be replaced by all the hackathons only. Because in the campus placement also, nowadays, companies are giving, after tell me something about yourself, the second question is, this is my problem statement about from my company. What is your view on this? So again, it is coming to be more like a hackathon, less like a campus placement interview. So are students thinking from that perspective? Are you have a mindset where you can identify the problem statement and give a solution to that? It's not at all necessary that you must have a product-based innovation. Even a company says, I have a this problem statement. From the management point of view, what is your viewpoint on so-and-so policy, so-and-so rule? There is a budgeting constraint, there is a manpower constraint, there is a financial constraint. You as a manager or maybe a prospective manager, what are you going to do? So these are the questions that are coming and to come in the prospectively in your careers as a student. So this translation, all these examples that I'm going to discuss must be brought on currently, and this problem statement must be discussed in such a manner. I have another example from the academia how research and teaching was linked. Okay, so there was a my head of department, Professor Amitabha Bandyopadhyay, got to meet a cardiologist from King George Medical University, Lucknow, Professor Rishi Sethi. And Professor Rishi Sethi in year 2017 has elaborated a problem statement. He said, sir, whatever be the problems that we face, be in the OPD or in the OT operation theater, there is no solution to those problem statement. Professor Bandyopadhyay from the academia, he said, oh, how come you are saying this? You have lots and lots of medical representatives, lots of companies approaching you. If you tell the problem statement to the companies, they will certainly give a solution. He said, no, sir, this is not the case. We have lots of problem statement which are getting unaddressed. Okay. So both of them thought about this. They planned something. Then they said, we are academia. What can we do? So Professor Bandyopadhyay was of the view that no, we can do a lot more than only discussing about the problem statement. It may be a case where a doctor is not that much skillful in fabricating or developing a prototype to his problem statement, but the engineers can. But the problem with the engineers is they cannot infer out a problem statement from medical professionals' point of view. So can we think from that perspective? Okay. So both the doctor and the academic professor from IIT, they thought of organizing a hackathon. So a hackathon was organized where 7 teams were given problem statements by the doctors. Each team consisted of 3 doctors from KGMU Lucknow, 3 doctors from KGMU Lucknow, and 3 engineers from IIT Kanpur. Then the 7 problem statements were given to 7 doctors. 7 teams of this hackathon, which was organized. And out of this hackathon, several solutions came out of this 7-day work that was done. So these are the solutions that were brought from the academic area. There was lots and lots of common problem statements discussed. A doctor has said, imagine a situation where the patient's weight is 110 kg or maybe 100 kg. I would be needing at least 3 ward boys or 3 nurses in shifting that patient from OT table to stretcher and vice versa. And after the operation, the sutures or the stitches gets disturbed. So the entire effort in doing the operation goes wasted. Is there a solution where the transferring from OT to stretcher and vice versa can be done in a smoothened way? So this team, one of the team was given this problem statement during the hackathon. What has happened? They have developed a rotating belt, which is retrofit in nature. And one doesn't need to buy the entire infrastructure of investing ₹1 lakh on the specific stretcher. Rather, this stretcher was developed. The rotating belt can be retrofitted on any of the OT tables, any of the existing infrastructure. And in one go, a single nurse can rotate the pulley and the patient can shift it from one OT table to the stretcher and vice versa. That was a common solution. Then there was again a problem statement given by a doctor during a surgery of shoulders. There is a problem. Then there is a problem about disabled people having artificial limb. The artificial limbs are costing too high. Then there was a solution brought out by one team consisting of 3 doctors, 3 engineers, where even a sophisticated artificial hand can lift a ₹1 coin from the floor, and that too it is costing around 17,000-80,000 rupees. So world's most cost-effective artificial hand was made within this 7-day hackathon. So my say and my outcome and my penny giveaway, my advice currently, can we take an example from this initiative, which was taken by one faculty from engineering college, one faculty from King George Medical University? Can we organize such a hackathon? It's not necessary that one must only organize a product-based hackathon. Can we organize a problem statements based hackathon where the problem statements are related to rules, policy, or maybe legislation? Can we do that? If it requires a conglomeration of some legal expert, if it requires a conglomeration of some administrative people from some administrative background, can we do that? Can we organize such a program where the outcome may provide a solution to the existing a long pending problem statements which were unaddressed? Can we do that? So this way, this research can be, I mean, research and teaching can be brought on, and new ways in innovation and bringing a solution can be done. A lot of people often ask, I have been teaching for so and so decades. My academic progression requires only research paper. Why should I think from the perspective of innovation? Why not innovation? If what will be the advantage if I go ahead with the innovation? So this page only talks about innovation. If a faculty member is thinking or a researcher is thinking from the perspective of research paper versus innovation, please take this patent as innovation. A research paper is only limited to a discovery or maybe application, but the innovation has to be application has to be there. On one hand, one may be getting academic progression or a research, while on the patent side, the commercialization is the main objective. So a startup or entrepreneurial route, or maybe if there is a restriction in going ahead and going to the product phase, one can say I'm a IP driven or R&D driven person. I'm a faculty member. I have already done so and so at this level. Is there an industry partner who is ready to take this further? So these are the nuances that one must think from that perspective. If you have an idea, if innovation is coming in the academic side, this must be thought out and brought on. A strategy has to be made from this perspective in order to protect it. What's the point of working on a problem statement if it has not been protected? If a faculty member and a student have worked on a problem statement for 2 years or 1 year, and so problem statement and solution has not been protected through a patent application, someone else has been utilizing. You have discussed with some industry partner, and they have quietly taken away your idea and they have separately filed a patent application. Then your own patent does not have any value at all. Because the patent has already been protected by someone else previously. The date you filed, someone else has already filed the patent application. So that is the outcome and innovation in research and teaching. This idea or these topics that I'm discussing, this must be translated to the students as well. Problem statements must be identified. Solutions must be protected through patent applications. Few strategies must be made, like an annual meeting or a bi-monthly meeting, a PRFAQ model. A hackathon must be organized, maybe into policy, maybe into product development. These kind of activities must be brought on. Then only this research and teaching, the conglomeration of research and teaching, innovative ideas would certainly come out, and there is academic progression as well as alternative to students in terms of alternative to campus placements. One very pertinent question comes out often. Teachers often ask this question, sir, how to assess whether the innovation is proceeding ahead or not? So there is a criteria for assessment. Yes, madam. Yes, sir. The criteria is the way a person's height can be measured through some units like inch, feet, and centimeters, and a person weight can be measured in kg and in pound. There is a scale which develops how developed a technology is, how much effort has gone in developing the technology, how much effort has gone in developing a policy, maybe a rule. Let me tell you what this assessment level scale is. The name of this assessment scale is TRL level, Technology Readiness Level. Technology Readiness Level was invented by NASA, an American space agency. If you have thought from the perspective of having an idea, then you are at TRL 1. You have fabricated the idea, you have made a point of care device and a alpha beta prototype is there, then you are at TRL 4. You have validated the technology with previous references, then you are at TRL 7. You have made the technology into a full-fledged product, like maybe a mobile phone like this, then you are at TRL 9. Let's take this TRL level scale from the perspective of policy development. You have identified a problem statement which is divide of a policy, or maybe in a case where the existing policy is inefficient, incapable enough to provide a new problem statement or maybe existing problem statement. Then you are at TRL 1. You have made a draft of that problem statement. You are at TRL 4. You have taken some Q comparatives, vetting examples from competitive authorities. You have forwarded this application. You are at TRL 7. The policy and the rule gets adopted, maybe rectified, may come into existence. Then it is at TRL 9. So this is the way how innovation can be brought in teaching and in research in academia. Are we observing these kind of scales or TRL levels within ourselves? Mere identifying a problem statement will not suffice the requirement. So what you can do, one can observe how much time is being taken for a so and so effort that has gone in. If a person has taken 5 years of time in reaching from TRL 1 to TRL 9, maybe for example of a policy development, then after 5 years maybe the problem statement will not remain as such. In that case, what is the point of all the effort that has gone in? So the pertinent question is, are we taking time as the most important thing? Because if time has not been kept in mind, then there's no point in doing all the efforts that has gone in reaching from TRL 1 to TRL 9. So all these soft skills, all these hackathons, all this PRFAQ model, all this assessment of TRL level, what I have observed, they have been into existence in the Western universities since 80s or maybe 90s. IITs have adopted these models, the old IITs from 99 or year 2000. Few other colleges, even private universities, have also started trying to adopt such type of models. But my right now advice is to have this PRFAQ model, have this hackathon model, have this such collaborative hackathons, assessment of TRL levels. These are the only ways innovation in teaching and research can be brought on. And we have adopted this, and the outcome of these over the past 22 years is lots and lots of startups are coming out. 350 startups have graduated from the institute. We have till now filed 850 patent applications within the institute. Several gold medals, several silver medals are being awarded. We are being commended at different forums, be it within the country, at national level, international levels. I'm so feeling proud to say that if we are filing 100 patent applications, 15 patent applications are being adopted by industry partners, and they are getting translated in the form of a product. And what is the outcome? The outcome is employment is being generated, revenues are being generated, stockist distributors and retailers are getting profits out of that, and taxes are getting generated. The national perspective is getting an edge, or you can say an advantage out of all these efforts. So how come these efforts come? These efforts come from these initiatives which I have talked about, innovation in ways of linking research and teaching. How you can do it? You can bring the policy, you can bring the PRFAQ model, you can bring the hackathon, you can assess all these the efforts that are being taken by the students and the faculty members, and these solutions, they will contribute in the nation building. So that is all from my side in terms of this. I request if there are any questions from the students or maybe faculty members, this is my email ID. If there are any questions in terms of innovation, patent, startup, technology transfer, how to establish an incubation center within the academia, you may reach out to me. I'll be giving my office's website address as well. And if time permits, I request all to please visit these websites as well. You will get a lot of information on how to proceed ahead with the innovation and incubation. What I request all the participants to please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and not me, but the tech transfer at IITK handle that we have. And I'm leaving the handle address as well. The handle's address is tech transfer at IITK. So this handle is quite common among all the social media pages, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Please follow us. You will get a lot of innovation details. It will be there. Now I'm opening the session for all the participants. You may ask any questions if you have, and I request the host to kindly allow the unmute option, or maybe chat option. They can write their questions in the chat box as well.
So good morning, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. Firstly, I would like to congratulate and say that your session was very excellent. You've given a lot of inputs about innovation and how to take up these startups and all about the entrepreneurship. So my question is that I basically belong to Department of Business Management. So when we talk about this incubation as such, now, basically incubation, they say that it's only for engineering students. They don't encourage the business management or any other UG student, a normal UG student in colleges like us. Can you please throw some light, like how do we plan, how do we start up with an incubation center in a college?
Okay, ma'am, there are two questions from your side. One, can non-engineering students go towards this startup route? And the second is how to open an incubation center within maybe an university or maybe a college. So first I will go ahead. Ma'am, it's a myth when someone says that only engineers can go ahead with a startup or do an incubation. That is not the case. Ma'am, IIT Kanpur has an open for all policy. We are open for any citizen who is coming from any corner of the world. They can incubate. There are types of incubation center. The one that I belong to is a TBI, Technology Business Incubation Center. So slowly, this will be a conglomeration of both the answers to both your questions that you have asked. Ma'am, TBI is a status given by NSTEDB. This is the body. This is a regulatory body which gives the authorization for incubation centers. Okay, ma'am. Yes. So TBI is a status where it is mandatory to bring solutions for the technology-based, deep tech technology or technology-based only. So it's not a restricting point. Now, those startup companies, those students who would like to bring a solution in the form of a solution innovation or a startup having a non-engineering background or have brought a solution which is not a tech-based, no issues that. Ma'am, we have some programs in agricultural domain. We have also worked towards the social entrepreneurship. You might have heard about the UK aid and the US aid and Bill and Melinda Gates or the Social Alpha. These type of programs which are getting run at our incubation center, what we are doing, we are trying to find out the problem statement from the social sector. What are those problem statements? Livelihood. How to increase the livelihood for the people who are living at the bottom of the pyramid. Then there is a problem statement from sanitation perspective. In rural side, there is a problem statement to that. Then there is energy. Then there is a clean tech. Then there is a clean energy. There are a lot of problem statements which are related to the social side. So TBIs like IIT Kanpur, they also help in these type of problem statement. So now I'm coming to your question, how to start the incubation center. Madam, there is one policy framework that you need to note down. I'm writing that policy name. I was part of this policy as well. Iska naam is, the name of this policy is National Innovation and Startup Policy 2019. This is an umbrella document for all the academic institutes in order to how to proceed ahead with the incubation center and IP and tech transfer cell within an academic area. It has all the nuances associated. What it requires is to have a Section 8 company. Section 8 company as a incubation center, which is limited liability, limited by guarantee. बस एक सेक्शन 8 कंपनी को ओपन कर लेना है मैडम, उसको इनकॉर्पोरेट करना है. जो आपका एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कॉलेज को चला रहा है वही बोर्ड इसमें भी इस दैट से द सेम कॉलेज द कॉलेज एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन व्हिच इज रनिंग द कॉलेज करंटली, the same administration become also a part of the board of this Section 8 company. Section 8 company is a mandatory requirement to have a incubation center. As and when you start doing such activities like hackathon, organizing IP tech transfer cell activities, you start filing patent activities, and then you tell the funding agencies that, sir, madam, we have been doing such kind of innovation in entrepreneurship basic related activities. We have a Section 8 company. Would you like to fund us? Please provide some seed funding, grant funding, and fellowship for the prospective or graduating students. In those cases, there are schemes like AIC. Then there is a Atal Innovation Mission. So Atal Innovation Mission mein Atal Incubation in the Atal Innovation Mission, there is a Atal Incubation Center. So for establishing a Atal Incubation Center in an academic space through Niti Aayog, the government provides 10 crore over the period of 5 years. So that accounts to 2 crore rupees per year for next 5 years. So there is a mandate for that Atal Innovation Incubation Center. That's certain activities need to be performed. But there is a certain threshold also in order to become eligible for this AIM. You need to participate in activities like Smart India Hackathon activities. You need to file patent application. You need to incubate startups that may be technical in nature, non-technical in nature. Then there are companies who are ready to fund through the CSR model. So in order to enable funding flows from CSR model, Section 8 company has to be there. The government has modified the CSR route very recently. We have around a dozen companies who have been sponsoring us through the CSR model. So they can also provide funding for innovation, incubation related activities. But ma'am, the first thing first, an IP tech transfer cell has to be established. A Section 8 company has to be incorporated. If immediately what the college can do, they can dedicate a small fund of 5 lakh rupees for the IP and tech transfer activities. That includes the patent filing and technology translation. The second 5 lakh rupees can be dedicated for the incubation related activities, where some small seed funding of 50,000 to 1 lakh per graduating students. So these conglomeration of all these activities that I have discussed, you can go ahead, and these things would not happen overnight. At least a minimum of 4 years, 3 years or 4 years of period of time shall take in having a successful incubation center within the academy. That is the only, at least in my career of 10 years of experience, I can say this is the way how an incubation center can become a successful incubation center.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for answering so wonderfully, where we could get this information about Section 8 company, that is, for us to go ahead with this process. And if there are no more questions, sir, can I ask you one last question? Sir, see, yes, when we talk about technology, when we talk about new things, innovation, and also, how do we prepare the teachers and that is the leaders to leverage the new technology? Because see, it's basically the faculty who will try to see to it that they come out with good ideas, and those ideas are passed on to the students, and ultimately we motivate the students. So how can we prepare the teachers and leaders to leverage the new technology? That's my
Ma'am,
question.
actually, ma'am, regular interaction with established incubation center is number one. Training of the teachers is very necessary. This is the most important thing that I have observed. Nowadays, we have been provided a huge project by state government, Uttar Pradesh state government, in training the teachers who are teaching at engineering college, who are teaching at diploma and polytechnic colleges. Even we have done the hand holding and adopted uh, 25 regional engineering colleges in the state. We have been even I, in as a professional, I have been a part of board of member in the section 8 company of 3 of the section 8 companies. Routinely the teachers, we are providing us 5-day 6-day training, and some 20 to 25 batches are getting trained from our side. So these kind of activities are very important. If the teachers are getting trained, then the translation would happen till the level of students also. So teachers training, teachers visit to the incubation center, bringing speakers, or you can say activities like hackathon, hackathon, student activities. These activities would be very important in going ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the answer.
So can we ask one more question?
Yes, Vijaya ma'am.
So am I audible?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
So at the outset, I must thank you for the very wonderful lecture. You have thrown an insight into the whole process of how an innovation should happen and lead to a patent. I mean, how we begin with a problem statement rather than looking at the end goal itself. And I'm really happy to see, we know IITs are the leaders, but the impactful technologies that seed sowing boots and very simple innovations, and how the teachers and the students got involved in the process. Well, I have just a small idea, sir. Can IITs or IT Kanpur or something like that train the faculty on how to, I mean, it's an approach actually, how to think of an innovation and leading to a patent and commercialization. It involves a thought process.
Sure.
Can the IITs train the faculty in that?
Yes, ma'am. We have already been doing this. 25 batches have been trained this financial year. Or you only have to send an email to me, and I will get it done at my institute, and we will try to have a batch of maybe a 5-day or a 7-day batch, a training session for all the students. If it requires an offline session, then nowadays things are normal. The pandemic is gone now. We can arrange all the travel and accommodation for the teachers. If it requires an online session for all the teachers, that is also a possibility. If it requires a 3-day or a 5-day or maybe a 15-day requirement, we have done this at least dozens and dozens of times. So there is a possibility, and we have already been doing this.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your offer. Thank you.
So there is one question in the chat box from Sangeeta. Could you please elaborate on policy innovation?
So, ma'am, policy innovation, a lot of such activities are happening currently. Let me illustrate it a bit. There are policy associated from the academic side. There was no policy from the national perspective of innovation and incubation for the academia. Then there was a committee being set up by the central government in order to brought out a policy for the academic colleges. If so, imagine a faculty member is already being employed, then can he or she open a startup simultaneously along with his current employment? So there is a rule, section 337, CCS 337, which states a parallel employment or dual employment is not allowed for government employees. In that case, is there a policy? So this was a problem statement provided to me to find out a solution for this. So again, what we have done, we have tried to find out what does the legislation says, what does the act says. What we found out, the way a person can purchase shares from a company, a similar way a faculty member can also become a non-executive member of a startup company. He can hold equity from that company. He doesn't need, he or she doesn't need any permission from any stakeholder. So this was the tweaking point. We have drafted these points in the policy, the faculty entrepreneurship policy at IIT Kanpur, which is in line with the NISP 2019. So these are kind of the policy innovation. This is one of the examples that I have brought on. There may be n number of policy problem statements. Now administrative bodies are floating problem statements from policy perspective, and they are asking about the solution to that. So this is my answer in terms of policy innovation.
Thank you, sir. There is one more question by Shireen in the chat box. Can you please help us about the funding agency for incubation centers?
Yes, Dr. Shireen, we do have 35 funding agencies for the incubation center. Out of the 35, around 8 are CSR companies. Then there are 4 or 5 government agencies. Rest are different agencies who are overall grossly 35 agencies are there. You can approach to Niti Aayog for the Atal Innovation Mission, AIC, number 1. You can also approach to DST for the funding. ICMR has been providing such a funding. Then the DBT Section 8 company called as BIRAC. BIRAC is giving a lot of schemes for establishing Bioignition Grant Nodal Center. Then there is other schemes which are available in establishing a bio-incubation center within the academia. Then there are funding agencies like Bill and Melinda Gates, which from international side, they are sponsoring such type of social incubation center funding. Then there is a UK aid, US aid. Then there is a CINI from Tata Trust is there. There are a lot of agencies who have been actively funding, but there is a threshold requirement from their side in order to fund the colleges. And at scratch level, there are very few funding agencies. But over the period of time, when this incubation centers start doing the activities of incubation innovation, when there are at least 5 patents are getting filed in a year, 5 startups are getting incubated, then the threshold comes into existence, and then these funding agencies start considering the funding proposals from the colleges. So these things must be kept in mind in order to going ahead with a successful incubation center.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insights on innovation and the interactive session. So I now request Ms. Sai Ambika to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. I, Sai Ambika.
Sai Ambika, 1 second, sorry. Yeah. So, 1 second.
Sir, thank you, sir, for wonderful lecture. Now I accept our certificate of appreciation, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. I'm feeling privileged to be a part of this seminar at your.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sai Ambika, you can just propose vote of thanks.
Okay. I, Sai Ambika, Faculty Department of Commerce and member of IKSC, deemed great privilege to propose vote of thanks for the expert of today's speaker, Sri Ravi Pandey, sir. Sir has discussed about concepts linking innovation research with teaching, such as entrepreneurship, government initiatives for entrepreneurship, illustrations of innovation promotion in an organization. Sir has interacted with the participants on innovations in organizations such as PR, FAQ, converting non-smart TV into smart TV, and how to connect teaching with corporate. Sir has enlightened on innovations in Smart Hackathon, Smart India Hackathon, problem statements in Hackathon, innovations from academia, and innovations should be taken up by teaching faculty, TRA levels, patent applications. Sir has briefed about the different government initiatives for incubation, patents, funding agencies for incubation and IP in question and answer session. Thank you so much, sir, for today's for being with us today. Within a short span of time, you have given an eye-opening talk to all the participants, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Ravi sir. And we want more association and more kind of such kind of the lectures.
Sure, ma'am.
10 minutes. Good morning, Joseph sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay. My video also is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay. Thank you. So I have already logged in. You please tell me when I should start my session. I will do that. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Sir, Joseph sir, we will start the session at 11:15, sir.
I'm ready, ma'am. We will start at 11:15. Thank you.
All the participants can just take a short break for 5 minutes and please assemble at 11:15.
Hello, ma'am.
Introduction and title.
Welcome back, all the participants, to the technical session 5 on research ethics. So we have here Joseph Dorarai sir, Professor Joseph Dorarai sir from School of English and Foreign Languages. I now request Miss Salma Begum to introduce Dorairaj sir to the audience.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to everyone. I, Ms. Salma Begum, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and member IQAC RPVR Women's College. It is my great privilege to introduce our today's eminent speaker, Professor A. Joseph Dorairaj, Professor of English in School of English and Foreign Languages at Gandhigram Rural Institute, Deemed to be University, Gandhigram, Tamil Nadu, for the session on research ethics. During the academic year 2013-14, Sir was the acting Vice Chancellor of Gandhigram Rural University. Sir was a Fulbright scholar in 2014 and visited educational institutions in Washington, D.C., New York, and Miami, and an Erasmus Mundus visiting scholar at KU Leuven, Belgium in 2015. Sir conducted a month-long teacher training program in Kandy, Sri Lanka in August 2007 and has also visited Gregorian University, Rome, Radman University, the Netherlands, and Center Savin, Paris. Sir has published 52 articles and authored 5 books titled Myth and Literature in 2006, Interventions, Essays in Philosophy and Literature Theory in 2011, Philosophical Hermeneutics 2015, FAQs on Research, Literature and Language in 2019, and Essay on Higher Education in India in 2021. Sir has edited 2 books titled Critical Essays on Indian English Poets in 2015 and Essays on Gandhi in 2019. Sir has successfully guided 16 PhD candidates and has adjudicated more than 100 PhD theses. Sir was a visiting professor of philosophy at Satya Nilayam, affiliated to Madras University from 2009 to 2012, and a visiting professor of English at Osmania University in 2016. Sir is a founder editor of Gandhigram Literary Review Journal. Sir is an assessor for NATS since 2010 and was involved in the preparation of NATS revised methodology. Sir has assessed 35 colleges and universities all over the country and 15 as a chairperson of NAT peer teams. Sir has completed 2 major assignments for UPS PT Board, New Delhi. With this brief introduction, I welcome Sir once again and thank you, Sir, for accepting to be the resource person for today's session. Sir, now I request you to please take over the session. Thank you.
Thank you.
ఇది సెషన్ అందరు ఇది ఏంటిదండి ఇది అదే వాళ్ళదే చల్ వేస్ట్
Shall I start?
Sir, over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, dear friends. Professor G. Sudarshan Reddy, the Secretary and Correspondent of RBVRR Women's College, Hyderabad. Dr. S. Achyuta Devi, the Principal of RBVRR Women's College, Hyderabad. Dr. Anupama, the IQAC Coordinator of RBVRR Women's College, the organizing team, and dear participants. Good morning to all of you. At the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Anupama, the IQAC coordinator of the host institution, for inviting me to deliver a lecture on research ethics. Thank you, Dr. Anupama, and thank you, the organizing team. Dear friends, for the next 1 hour, I'll be talking on research ethics, and I'll be making a PowerPoint presentation. I'll share my screen with you.
Sir, co-host unnara?
Is my screen visible to you?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Oh, okay. Are the slides moving?
Yes, sir. The slides are
Okay,
transferred.
okay, thank you. So dear friends, I am happy the host institution is organizing a 2-day conference on a very important topic, a very important theme, research and innovation. And I am happy that I have been invited to this 2-day conference, and I thank the organizers for this warm invitation, particularly an invitation to talk on research ethics. Now, dear friends, this is how I have divided my presentation. Now, my presentation, which will last 1 hour, consists of 3 parts. In the first part, I have only a single slide. I will talk about very briefly the characteristics of good research, whether it is in humanities or pure sciences or social sciences. So what would be the characteristics of good research? So that would be the first part of the presentation. Now, the second part of the presentation, which constitutes the core of my presentation, I'll be talking about 25 crucial issues in research ethics. Then towards the end, I have just one slide. I will talk about the Indian scenario and the challenges that researchers face in the Indian subcontinent, particularly with regard to research. So dear friends, this is how I have organized my presentation. Now, the first part of the presentation, whether you do your research in English or mathematics or home science or computer science or geography, what are the characteristics of good research? So what would be the hallmark of good research? So I have identified some 8 points. Now, these are not the only points. We can think of additional points, but these are the fundamental aspects of good research in any discipline, in any subject. As we all know, a piece of good research has to be original, has to be innovative, has to chart new territory. So originality is the hallmark of any good research, whether it is in humanities or pure sciences or social sciences. In addition to being original, good research should be responsible, and particularly when you talk about the methodology that the researchers are adopted, it should be transparent. The researcher should not hide as to how he or she went about. So when the researcher talks about his or her methodology, there should be transparency. Then when the researcher faces a dilemma as to choose pure research or applied research, as to choose basic and fundamental research or research which is application oriented, I would be inclined to choose the latter, because good research is committed to societal growth. And these days, when we are facing the pandemic, when we are facing COVID-19, okay, so medical research, particularly in terms of societal growth and development, that becomes important. So that is why we have vaccines, whether it is Covaxin or Covishield. So good research is committed to societal growth and development. Good research is non-discriminatory, and good research is sensitive to gender issues, socio-cultural, economic factors, and good research is ecologically sensitive. And finally, the most important one as far as my presentation is concerned, good research should be ethical, it should be legitimate, it should be acceptable, there should not be any fraudulent practices. So dear friends, good research should be original, it should be responsible, particularly in terms of methodology. It should be transparent, and good research is committed to societal growth and development. Not that we are discounting pure research or theoretical research. Wherever there is a choice between pure research on the one hand and application-oriented research on the other, it is better to focus on application-oriented research because it is committed to societal growth and development. Then, as we all know, good research is non-discriminatory. It is gender sensitive and also takes into consideration various factors, particularly socio-cultural factors. And good research is ecologically sensitive. And finally, good research is academically ethical, and there is research ethics. Fine. Now, dear friends, now I come to the second part of the presentation. In the second part of the presentation, I will be talking about what is ethics in general, what is research ethics in particular, and I'll be focusing on 25 key issues in research ethics. Now, a student of philosophy will know philosophy, the basis of philosophy or the foundation of philosophy consists of 4 pillars. So what are the 4 pillars on which the edifice or the building called philosophy rests? We have metaphysics, we have epistemology, we have logic, and we have ethics. So this would be metaphysics, epistemology, logic, and ethics. So these 4 would constitute the basis or the foundation of philosophy, whether we are talking about Western philosophy or Eastern philosophy. Now, metaphysics, particularly ontology, talks about being. So metaphysics talks about the study of being as being, and is supposed to be one of the core, one of the vital elements of philosophy. Epistemology, the word epistemology is derived from episteme, a Greek word which means knowledge. So epistemology is one of the core elements of philosophy, and it talks about the theory of knowledge. So logic, as we all know, talks about talking clearly, talking coherently, talking persuasively, or writing clearly, writing coherently, and writing persuasively. And the final component is ethics. So what is ethics? Ethics is also known as moral philosophy. And whether we use the term ethics or the term moral philosophy, we are talking about the philosophical study of morality, particularly conceived as a set of standards of right and wrong conduct, or good or bad conduct, or what is legitimate and what is acceptable. In other words, I do something. Is it right or is it wrong? Is it acceptable or is not acceptable? For instance, I am a COVID patient and I walk into the classroom without a mask. Is it right or is it wrong? Is it an acceptable behavior or is it an unacceptable behavior? So ethics will come into play. So ethics talks about what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad, what is legitimate and what is illegitimate, and what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Now, when we talk about ethics, we talk about different types of ethics. We talk about business ethics, and we talk about sports ethics. We talk about media ethics, particularly when we talk about fake news, hate speech. We talk about media ethics, medical ethics, particularly when you try out a new vaccine on volunteers. Okay, so medical ethics is involved. And finally, today's discussion that centers around academic ethics. As students, as researchers, as faculty, should we indulge in legitimate behavior or illegitimate behavior, acceptable behavior or unacceptable behavior? So that is the domain of academic ethics. Now, what is academic ethics? What is research ethics? What is academic integrity? Now, here is a brief quote that would define what is ethics and what is academic ethics. Now, as I said earlier, if we look at philosophy as a building, the basis of that building or the foundation of that building would consist of metaphysics, epistemology, logic, and ethics. So therefore, what is research ethics or what is academic ethics? Whether we use the term academic ethics or research ethics, we realize that it is a branch of ethics which talks about fair, legitimate, and responsible conduct of research, or academic ethics or research ethics talks about integrity in conducting research. Now look at the 3 keywords. So when we talk about research ethics, we are distinguishing between fair research, legitimate research, responsible research on the one hand, and what is not fair, what is not legitimate, what is not responsible, what is not acceptable on the other. In other words, we are talking about honesty, we are talking about genuineness, and we are talking about integrity in conducting research. In other words, just as we have NAC in India, in UK, in Britain, they have a body called Quality Assurance Agency for Higher Education. So this is similar to NAC in India. So the body is called Quality Assurance Agency for Higher Education. So this particular body has made an attempt to define academic ethics or research ethics. And here is a brief quote that highlights what is academic integrity. So according to Quality Assurance Agency for Higher Education in UK, academic integrity includes principles, values, conduct, measures, and systems relating to fairness and honesty within teaching, learning, and assessment. So it doesn't concern research alone. It concerns teaching, it concerns learning. So in other words, look at the two key words, fairness and honesty. So when I teach, am I honest? Am I fair? When I do research, when I take up research, whether it is a publication or a project or research guidance or conducting a viva, am I fair? Am I honest? So dear friends, so two things are clear. Number one, ethics talks about what is acceptable behavior and what is unacceptable behavior. And a branch of ethics is academic ethics or research ethics. And academic ethics or research ethics, the focus is fairness, honesty, genuineness, authenticity in terms of teaching and in terms of undertaking research. Now, in today's presentation, I would like to talk about in today's presentation, I would like to talk about 25 key issues in research. Now, I want to make it very clear at the outset, not all the 25 issues are equally important. Some are more important and some are less important. Some issues are directly concerned with humanities, arts and humanities, particularly languages, whereas some other issues, they are directly relevant to sciences. So it is a mixed bag. So not all the issues are equally important. Some are more important and some are less important. Fine. Now, the first one is outsourcing the research project. Now, this is the most unacceptable behavior when we talk about academic ethics or research ethics. In other words, what do? You have enrolled for a PhD in a college or a university, or you have enrolled for an MPhil program in a college or a university, and you are expected to put in a lot of hard work. You are expected to write papers. You are expected to write your MPhil dissertation or a PhD thesis. Now you do none of these. I repeat, you do none of these. Instead, what you do is you buy a ready-made PhD thesis. Okay, so there is a ghostwriter and it is available. Unscrupulous supervisors sell PhD thesis, and Xerox centers, photocopying centers, they sell PhD thesis. And I know quite a few students, not only in languages, humanities, in all subjects, whether it is computer science or home science or physics or chemistry or mathematics. So what they do is the most unacceptable behavior expected of a research student or a research scholar. They have the money and they buy the PhD thesis or the MPhil thesis. And I have something in parentheses, which is very interesting. Of course, totally unacceptable. The whole thing comes as a package. I repeat, the whole thing comes as a package. At the time of registration, you have to pay 1 or 2 lakhs. Then when you have the first DC meeting, you have to pay another 2 or 3 lakhs. When you have the second DC meeting, you pay additionally 2 or 3 lakhs. Then at the time of submission, you pay the rest of the amount. And at the time of the Viva OC, you pay some amount. So this is a complete package. It starts with registration and ends with Viva OC. So dear friends, this happens in many universities across the country. Since I am an assessor for NAC for the last 12 years, I have visited plenty of colleges and plenty of universities all over the country. And wherever I go, I check and they tell me, oh, this university, they indulge in malpractice. Oh, this college, this research center, they sell PhD thesis. So this happens in many institutions and almost in all disciplines, almost in all subjects. So therefore, the most unacceptable behavior when we talk about academic ethics or research ethics is buying a ready-made PhD thesis and you do not put in any hard work and you do not have any scruple and you buy this PhD thesis, fine. Now, the second most unacceptable behavior is you don't buy a thesis as such, but what you do is you cut, copy, paste. Now, all of us are aware of this fact. We have this InflibNet consortium and we have a website called Shodh Ganga. So what is Shodh Ganga? A digital repository of PhD theses or PhD dissertations submitted to Indian universities. So as far as Usmania University is concerned, how many PhD theses in English were submitted to Usmania University? All these are available in Shodh Ganga. Or you take SV University Tirupati in the Department of Philosophy, which are the theses that have been submitted and which are the theses that are available in Shodh Ganga. So Shodh Ganga is a repository, is a digital archive of PhD theses that have been submitted to Indian universities. So all these are available and very interestingly, all these are downloadable. They are downloadable. So what do some students do or what do many students do? They download it and they lift pages, they lift chapters, they lift chunks of the thesis, cut, copy, paste. So clever ones, what do? They copy from multiple sources and then they put the materials together in a very clever way and they rarely get caught. The not so clever ones, what they do is they copy and they copy, cut, copy, paste, but then they do not do it in a very clever way, as a result of which not all of them, some of them are caught. So the first one, you buy a ready-made PhD thesis, whereas in the second one, you put in some work, you put in some hard work, no doubt about it. But instead of doing an original piece of work, what you do is whatever is available on the net or in books or in articles, you copy, cut, copy and paste. So therefore you are rehashing or reusing materials that have already been published. Now the third one is particularly in social sciences, not so much in languages, because in languages we do not carry out empirical research. So this happens largely in social sciences. So you are expected to go out into the field and carry out field work. So what do? Without undertaking field trips, without doing the field work, what you do is you create data, you fabricate data. So therefore, the third unethical research practices, without conducting the experiments, without undertaking field work, without going out into the fields for data collection, what you do is you produce data, you create data, you fabricate data, even without visiting a particular school. Okay, so imagine you are measuring the EQ of the 11th and 12th standards of a particular school. So what are you expected to do? You are expected to visit the school, meet the students, maybe hand out, give them questionnaires or measure their emotional intelligence. So what do? You don't go to the school, you don't meet the students, you don't have any questionnaire, but then you have the data. So you fabricate data. I'll give you an interesting example. I am familiar with this PhD thesis. A particular student in South India, I will not mention the state. So this happened in one of the 4 South Indian states. So this particular student, it is a he, and he was doing his research in social sciences. And his project was, he wanted to study the unemployment rate among engineering graduates. So many of the engineering graduates are unemployed. So he wanted to find out what percentage of engineering students are unemployment, and he had to collect samples. He had to visit, imagine there are some 25 districts or 30 districts in a particular state. As I said earlier, I do not want to mention the state. So this was with reference to a particular South Indian state. Now, what did he do? He visited 2 districts out of 25 districts or out of 30 districts. This particular researcher, he visited 2 districts. Now, the rest of the districts, what did he do? He did not visit those districts, but then he created data, he fabricated data. So therefore, dear friends, the third unacceptable research behavior, particularly in social sciences, is without conducting the experiments or without going out into the field for data collection, what you do is you create your own data, you fabricate your own data, and of course, this is definitely unacceptable. Now, the fourth one is, and this happens in sciences, not that this does not happen in languages or social sciences, this happens in all disciplines, in all subjects, but it is prevalent largely in pure sciences, and I will give you some examples also. Now, you conduct your experiments, no doubt about it. You have your own lab, you conduct experiments, you carry out research, but then what happens is the results are not up to your expectations. Okay, so the results show something else. So what do? You are obviously disappointed because you expected something to happen, but something else has happened. So that is not of your liking. You did not expect that. So what do? You cleverly alter the data. So the fourth unethical research practice is falsifying or tampering with data. Now, the following two slides, I will give you an example, a visual example that will highlight how data is falsified or tampered with. Now, I'll give you an example from humanities. Now imagine a particular student, this is at the level of MA project, an MA dissertation. So this was and this is from the Department of Education. Now the student launches his research project with the hypothesis that online teaching is not effective. Now because of COVID, we have resorted to online teaching, and we have resorted to online learning, and we have resorted to webinars. Instead of seminars, we conduct webinars because of the COVID-19 situation. So this particular student from the Department of Education, he starts his research with the hypothesis online teaching is not effective. Now, in order to validate his hypothesis, what does he do? He collects data. But then when he gathers his data and then when he analyzes and interprets his data, he realizes that his hypothesis is wrong. Online teaching, at least with the help of the data that he has collected, they prove substantially that it is effective. So the student is disappointed because his hypothesis has not been validated or authenticated. So what does he do? He alters the data so that it validates his hypothesis. So the fourth unethical research practice is falsifying the data that you have collected, or you tamper with the data that you have collected so that you get publishable results. Now in sciences, I'm sure all of us are familiar with this. In sciences, what happens is papers are taken down, papers are retracted. Now, when the editor or when the editorial board, when they realize and when they are convinced that the researcher has resorted to unfair research practices, particularly the researcher has altered the data or modified the data or falsified the data or has tampered with the data, then they retract the paper. The paper is pulled down, the paper is taken down. Now, please remember, the world's best science journals are Science and Nature. We can include Lancet as well, which is a medical journal. And this morning I Googled and found out in 2021, that is last calendar year, there have been 3,000 retractions. 3,000 retractions have been indexed in Refraction Watch database, and Nature alone, which is supposed to be the best journal or the journal with the highest impact factor on the citation index in the entire world. So Nature and Science. So one is from UK, the other is from USA. There have been 36 retractions. Why? The editor or the editorial board realized that data were falsified or tampered. Now, this is from Science. Okay, so this is the original NMR data. Now, I have indicated or I have highlighted the impurity peak. So one particular researcher, when he or she carried out this research, he or she landed up in a very unpalatable situation. So impurity peak. Now the researcher, what did she do? Okay, please look at the following slide. With the help of Photoshop, she had erased it. I repeat, with the help of Photoshop, she had erased it. In other words, she had manipulated the data. She had falsified the data. She had tampered with the data, which of course is not an acceptable research behavior. Now let us go to the fourth one. Now the fourth one is widely prevalent in India in almost all colleges, all universities, all subjects, all disciplines, all departments, whether it is an assignment or a BA project or an MA project or an MPhil dissertation or a PhD dissertation, copying. Almost everyone copies. Okay, the only difference is some people copy to a very large extent, whereas some people copy to a very less extent. So it all depends on the percentage of plagiarism, the percentage of similarity index. So that is why the UGC insists that all PhD theses submitted to Indian universities should carry a certificate that a plagiarism check has been undertaken and the similarity index is within the limits. Okay, so plagiarism, including self-plagiarism. As we all know, the word plagiarism is derived from the Latin plagiarus, which means kidnapper. In other words, plagiarism, to put it in a little crude language, it is stealing one's ideas and thoughts. You don't steal somebody's necklace, you don't steal somebody's money, you don't steal somebody's wallet, but what you steal is you steal somebody's ideas, somebody's thoughts, somebody's published work, somebody's dissertation. So that is plagiarism. Now there is unintentional plagiarism. What is this unintentional plagiarism? The student is an honest student. He or she generally will not resort to unacademic research practices or unethical research practices. But because he or she is not good in research methodology, he or she has resorted to what is called unintentional plagiarism. Now, I can give you some examples from my own subject, that is English language and literature. Now, what happens is, imagine a student is reading a book and she finds a paragraph very interesting. So what does he or she do? He or she copies it down so that that particular paragraph, that particular quotation can be used in his or her MPhil thesis or PhD thesis. But unfortunately, what she does not do is, when she copies the passage in her laptop or in her notebook or in a diary, she does not use the quotation marks. And some students, what they do is, when they copy a particular passage or a paragraph, sometimes what they do is they summarize it, they paraphrase it, or they copy it in their own language. In other words, it is not an exact quotation, it is not an exact quote. So because it is in their own language. So this is called unintentional plagiarism, and the only way that we can avoid unintentional plagiarism is to teach the students the right mechanics of research methodology. The students have to be made aware of the fact that whenever you copy something, either verbatim or you have summarized it or you have paraphrased it, you should acknowledge the sources, because the idea is not your own, the idea has been borrowed. So whether it is within quotes or without the quotes, if it is not your idea and it is somebody else's idea that you have borrowed, that you have used to consolidate your argument or buttress your argument or strengthen your argument, you should definitely acknowledge the sources. And when we talk of plagiarism, we should also talk about self-plagiarism. This usually does not happen in PhD thesis. This happens usually when you write an article. Like, in order to improve your own citation index, what do? When I write an article, I quote from my own published sources. So that also should be avoided to a large extent. There is no harm in quoting from your own article. There is no harm if I quote from my own published article, but I should keep it to the minimum. So therefore, dear friends, the fifth unethical research practice is plagiarism, copying, stealing somebody's ideas. Now, the next point is, how do we deal with human subjects or participants? And this is particularly relevant in the domain of social sciences. Now you're a sociologist, or you're an anthropologist, or you're an applied linguist, or you're in the Department of Education. So these ideas will be useful to you. Okay, imagine you want to study poverty in a particular village, or you want to study the level of alcoholism in a particular village. So you go to that village and then you collect data. How many men are in this village and how many of them are alcoholics? Also, what is the population of this village, and what is the incidence of poverty? So there you will be collecting data. But what happens is, some researchers, maybe they do it deliberately or they do it unintentionally, they do not treat the people with respect. They look at them as data, they look at them as numbers. And this is another unethical research practice, and this is largely relevant and largely applicable in the domain of social sciences. Okay, so therefore look at point number 2, point number 3, and point number 4. Without getting their informed consent, we should not record the data. And when we record the data should be confidential. It should be used only for research purposes. And when we go to villages, when we want to talk to them, when we want to collect data, when we want to interview them, we should be unobtrusive. In other words, we should respect their space. Now, the 7th one is not a very important one: gaps in storage. Now, for instance, I want to study I want to know about alcoholism in a particular village. So I have collected data, I have written my MPhil thesis or PhD thesis, I have got my degree. But what do I do with the data? Now, some people, after they have submitted their thesis and after they have defended their thesis, they are not worried about the data that they have collected. It is no more relevant to them, it is no more useful to them. So therefore they do not keep it confidential. Okay, so this would be a breach in confidentiality. Now, 2 things. Number 1, when you publish a paper based on that data, and when the editor or the editorial board, they want to check with you the veracity or the authenticity of the data, then you should make it available. And number 2, you should, even after you submit your thesis and you defend your thesis, you should keep the data confidential. And this is discussed under the heading gaps in storage. Now, for those doing research in life sciences and of course in the medical field, using animals in research. Now, for 40 years ago, 45 years ago, live cockroaches were dissected in zoology laboratories, live frogs were dissected in laboratories. But today we have different practices, so most of it is online. Now, David Resink in 2015, he has talked about 3 important protocols when we use animals in research, particularly in the domain of life sciences. So he talks of reduction, replacement, and refinement. So what is reduction? Earlier, maybe a researcher has killed 1,000 monkeys or 2,000 monkeys. Maybe he is doing some important research in medicine. Okay, so for that research, he has killed, let us say, 500 monkeys or 1,000 monkeys or 2,000 monkeys. Maybe it is an important piece of research. He wants to discover some life-saving drug. So today, that particular researcher is advised, okay, you reduce the number of monkeys that you would kill. So reduction. Then replacement. What is replacement? Instead of doing research on live animals, they say you resort to in vitro studies or computer models. So reduction is number 1, replacement is number 2, and refinement. Okay, now your research is important. You are doing some research with the help of monkeys, and you have to kill them. There is no other go, because the outcome is something dramatic, something significant, something life-saving. So in that case, what you do is, there is Resink talks of refinement. And what is refinement? At least let us minimize the animal's pain and suffering. So this particular slide talks about carrying out research in life sciences, particularly dealing with animals. Point number 9, not a very important point, not respecting patents, copyrights, and intellectual property rights. Okay, so when you open a book, it says this book is copyrighted, or this material is copyrighted or patented. So which means if you use a passage or a paragraph or some lines, you have to acknowledge it. So using copyrighted or patented material without proper acknowledgement and sometimes without paying for it. So you please be very clear what are the protocols. Okay, so sometimes they make it very clear you need not pay for it, but you have to acknowledge it. So you acknowledge it, but sometimes they expect you not only to acknowledge it but also pay for it. So if that is required, so do it. Okay, so if you do not acknowledge or if you do not pay wherever it is required, then you are violating intellectual property rights. Then this also is a minor one, but happens not only in India but everywhere, including European universities and European labs. Misappropriation or embezzlement of research funds. Of course, students don't do it because students don't have access to money. Research scholars don't have access to money. It is the PIs, the primary investigator, the teachers. And very often what happens is, when let us say some 1 lakh is allotted for travel, so what do? They produce false bills, or for contingency to buy chemicals, let us say 50,000 is allotted, so they produce fake bills, false bills, and claim money. Okay, so but this is a widespread practice and it is done throughout the world, misappropriation or embezzlement of research funds. Now the 11th one is a very subtle one, and I want you to take notice of it: showing bias in your research. For instance, I teach English language and literature, and in many colleges, in many universities, we have introduced a paper called post-colonial literature or indigenous literature or subaltern literature, where you talk of Dalit writers, tribal writers, native Canadian writers. Okay, fine. Now, someone comes up with a research topic for his PhD or for his MPhil dissertation. Look at the topic: lack of vision in native writers, or lack of vision in tribal writers, or lack of vision in Dalit writers. Now, look at the topic. He has already made up his mind that the Dalit writers, they do not have a vision, that the tribal writers do not have a vision, that the native writers do not have depth, the indigenous writers do not have a comprehensive perspective of life. So the topic is biased and the researcher is biased. I'll give you another example. Okay, you are a student of anthropology and you're doing research in cultural anthropology, and then you want to study the superstitious behavior of a particular tribe or a particular region. Now, the topic itself is biased because you have already made up your mind that these people, oh, they are superstitious. Now, the city people are also superstitious, irrational sometimes. Okay, so why fault a particular caste or a particular tribe or a particular region or a belt as superstitious? Okay, or look at the third topic: prevalence of low IQ in a particular ethnic group. So in other words, the 11th unacceptable research practice is showing bias. You are biased, you are prejudiced, you are not open. Then the 12th unacceptable research practice is covert research. Okay, so the covert research, this very often happens in sociology and anthropology, and to some extent in applied linguistics. Fine. Now, I am a student of sociology, I am a student of anthropology, and my teacher, my supervisor has asked me to study the behavior of a particular tribe. So what do? If I walk out in the open, then they will identify me. Okay, so therefore they may behave in a slightly different way because there is an outsider. They may feel shy, or they may feel that their space is violated. So what do? I go behind them. Okay, I photograph them without their knowledge. I videograph their behavior, their rites and rituals without their knowledge. So this is, in terms of research, unacceptable. Okay, If you're a student of anthropology or a student of sociology or a student of cultural studies, you please do not spy on them to get an insider's perspective. You do not photograph them without getting their consent. You do not videograph their rights and rights and rituals without their consent. Okay, so this is very important, particularly in the subjects of anthropology and sociology. Stealing data from your own colleagues and peers. Okay, so some of my friends have told me that in laboratories they have a common computer. Okay, so data is recorded there. So in their absence, their colleagues or their peers, okay, so what do? They steal the data. So this is unethical practice, and this happens very often in, let us say, chemistry laboratory or physics laboratory or in computer lab, stealing data from your own colleagues, your own peers. Now, the 14th unacceptable research practice is construct validity. This happens in humanities, arts and humanities, and social sciences. I am not very sure whether this happens in pure sciences, in chemistry, mathematics, or computer science. Now, what is construct validity? If you are a student of social sciences, you will be familiar with validity and reliability. And when we talk of validity, we talk of internal validity and external validity. And when you talk of reliability, we talk of internal and external validity. Now, there is another concept called construct validity. In other words, how do you define important terms, terms on which your entire thesis hinges on? Okay, I have given you 3 examples. Now let us take the second example. You are a student of, let us say, political science or gender studies or economics. Okay, so then you want to study the topic, the phenomenon, rural schools and mediocrity. Okay, so rural schools, because of lack of facilities, lack of access to facilities, they do not perform very well. So therefore you want to examine this topic, rural schools and mediocrity. Now the whole question of how do you define mediocrity? Now someone would say, when there are 50% failures, that school is mediocre. Now somebody else will say, no, this is not agreeable to me, this is not acceptable to me. When there are 40% failures, that is mediocre to me. Somebody else will say, no, when more than 75 people fail in a particular school in the end exam, in the final exam, that is mediocre. In other words, the point is this, please listen carefully. The point is this: in order to get acceptable results, I repeat, in order to get acceptable publishable results, you define key terms in your own way. You do not go by standard or acceptable definitions. For instance, all of us would agree. Okay, so 35% and below would be a sign of mediocrity. 35 or 40% and below would be a sign of mediocrity. If a student scores 50 or 52 or 54, 55, all of us, I'm sure, would realize, no, this is not a sign of mediocrity, because the student has got 50% and above. So 30, 35, 40, that would be a sign of mediocrity. But if I define mediocrity as getting less than 20, 20 and less than 20, that is a sign of mediocrity. Then what happens? You doubt the veracity of my thesis, because I have defined mediocrity in my own way so that I get publishable results. So the 14th unacceptable research practices, particularly in arts and humanities, and also to some extent in social sciences, key terms are defined in a peculiar way so that you arrive at publishable results. Now, 15th one, this very often happens in pure sciences. Okay, so when you publish your paper or when you publish your PhD thesis, you acknowledge. Okay, but very often the lab attenders are left out. The junior assistants are left out. The student researchers are left out. So we should acknowledge. So wherever you have taken help, wherever you have received help, whether it is a lab attender or a junior assistant or a student researcher, that help should definitely be acknowledged. And not only that, when you submit a paper to, let us say, an Elsevier journal, then there is a blind reviewer. Okay, so and that reviewer has given some comments on the basis of which you have revisited your paper, revised your paper, refined your paper, and submitted it for acceptance. So the blind reviewer's feedback also should be acknowledged. In other words, let us be generous in acknowledging help. Okay, then the 16th one, it happens in all subjects, whether it is arts or humanities or languages or pure sciences or social sciences, giving authorship to people who have not contributed directly and substantially. I am writing a paper. I teach English. My wife also teaches English. So what do? I don't do it. Okay, I have never done it and I will not do it. I'm just giving an example. So when I write a paper, I include my wife's name so that she also gets credit, even though her contribution is nil, her contribution is zero. So this is the meaning of giving authorship to people who have nothing to do with your research. And very often this is done on a quid pro quid deal, a Latin expression meaning when I write a paper, when I publish a paper, I will include your name. And similarly, when you publish your paper, please include my name so that my citation index goes up and your citation index also goes up. And I'm sorry to say, sometimes some researchers, some unethical, unscrupulous researchers do this for sexual favors as well. And this is a fact, particularly in some of the premier institutions, and it is a matter to be ashamed of. Then citing from sources not directly connected to your research. You know, it is not directly connected to your research, but still you quote from that particular paper or you quote from this particular book. Okay, and how do you preface it? Even though it is not directly relevant to the argument, saying that you quote from that paper or that book or that article, and this is to help another researcher or to boost his or her impact factor. Now the 18th one, republishing the same material in different journals. Teachers do it and students also do it. I have written a paper. So what do? I get it published in a journal. Then modifying, let us say, the first paragraph, the 12th paragraph, the 17th paragraph, I publish it. I publish almost the same material in a different journal, but of course I have changed the introduction, I have changed the conclusion as well, and I have altered the title as well. So students do it and teachers also do it. So publishing the same material with some slight modifications in different journals. I have given an example, of course, this is taken from literature. Now, a student has done a research on Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. She is an Indian. She is a Bengali writer living in the US, and she is an expatriate writer. She has written a brilliant novel on interpreting the epic of Mahabharata from a feminist point of view. And the novel is called The Palace of Illusions. Okay, so the original article is Myth in Divakaruni's The Palace of Illusions. Now, a second article, almost, not 100%, almost with the same material is published under the title, Retelling of Myth in Divakaruni's The Palace of Illusion. So if you look at the first one and the second one, it looks very different. Okay, but if you look into the article, the material is more or less the same, maybe 80 to 85% it is the same, a little bit of change in the introduction and a little bit of change in the conclusion, and of course the title is changed. So therefore, the 18th unacceptable research practice is publishing the same material with some slight alterations and modifications in different journals. Now, the 19th one is what is called as salami slicing. Please look at the slide, salami slicing. What is salami slicing? Piecemeal publication of the findings in different journals. For instance, I am a student of the Department of Mass Media and Journalism. So what do? I want to find out how many hours students spend watching TV. Okay, so I have prepared a questionnaire, and one of the question is, How much time do you spend on watching TV every day? 0 to 30 minutes, that is the first column. 31 to 60 minutes, that is the second column. 61 to 90 minutes, that is the third column. 91 to 120 minutes, fourth column. Okay, now can I publish 4 papers? How many students spend only half an hour watching TV? So that is paper 1. How many students spend 1 hour watching TV? So that would be my second paper. How many students spend 1.5 hours watching TV? That would be my third paper. And how many students spend 2 hours or more watching TV every day? So that would be my fourth paper. This is called salami slicing. Now the point is, whether it is half an hour or 1 hour or 1.5 hours or 2 hours, the data is a composite whole. I cannot split it and make 4 different articles. Okay, so the whole thing comes as a package. So therefore, salami slicing is one of the unacceptable research practices. It is piecemeal publication of data in different journals. Now the next one, all of us do it, or all of us have at least done it in the past, teachers and students. You write an article and you're not sure whether it will be accepted or not. So what do? We take a lot of precaution, and then instead of sending it to one journal, we send it to 2 or 3 journals. What is the hope? At least one journal will accept it. But please remember, this is not an acceptable research practice. The 21st research, unethical research practices, selectively quoting to suit your focus and argument. Selectively quoting, that is, there is a sentence, but that sentence is embedded in a particular paragraph. That sentence is embedded in a particular context. So what do? You take it out of the context, you remove it out of the context, and then you quote it, and then you give an entirely different interpretation. Now, for instance, for students of English language and literature, particularly for students of English language teaching, ELT, there is a very famous researcher called N.S. Prabhu. He is known for the Bangalore project. In 1990, in one of the leading journals of the world, as far as ELT is concerned, in TESOL Quarterly, he published a paper called "There is no best method. Why?" Okay, now some student writes, according to N.S. Prabhu, there is no best method when it comes to English language teaching. And if you ask the student, no, this is what Prabhu has said. Look at the title of the article. The title says there is no best method. Okay, so what has happened? The student has not understood the title, nor has he understood the content of the essay. So this is polemical, but the student has understood it in a literal fashion. So therefore, the 21st unacceptable research practice is selectively quoting or lifting statements out of the context and then giving them your own interpretation. The 22nd unethical research practice, very often in literature, what we do is, without actually going through a book or an article, we include it in the reference, we include it in the bibliography, we include it in the work cited for 2 reasons. Number 1, the reference list is long, lengthy, and we want to impress the examiner. So this is an unacceptable research practice. The 23rd research practice, okay, we have a lot of predatory journals. What is the meaning of predatory journals? You pay and get your...
file will also contain the filter function. When without
Okay, thank you. You pay and get your paper published. Okay, so you pay 2,000, your paper is published. You pay 5,000, your paper is published. So these are called predatory journals, and that is why the UGC has come out with what is called the CARE list, CARE, Consortium for Academic Research and Ethics. So paying to get your published. Okay, so this is skipping or ignoring or short-circuiting the research project. For instance, I'll give you one example because I'm running out of time. Okay, if you are undertaking research in social sciences, you have to do a pilot study, you have to do a pre-test, but some students, what do? They skip the pilot study, but then they write as if they had already carried out the pilot study. Okay, in sciences, instead of repeating the experiment, they do it once, but then they create the data for the second experiment or the third experiment. And the last one, using the data collected for research for other purposes. Okay, I repeat, using the data collected for research for other purposes. For instance, you're from the Department of Women's Studies, or you're from the Department of Gender Studies. Now you want to, you are doing a research and you want to find out how many students are gays, how many students are lesbian, how many students are queer. In other words, students with a different sexual orientation. Now, this data is for research, and for research alone. You should not expose it, because you should be sensitive to the student. And when you do not keep this confidential, who is a homosexual, who is a heterosexual, who is gay, who is lesbian, you're endangering the life of the student. So whatever data you have collected for research, you have to use it only for research. Fine. So dear friends, I have come to the end of the second part of my presentation. I will complete it in 5 minutes. So these are 25 unacceptable research practices, unethical research practices. As I said earlier, not all the 25 practices are relevant to all subjects and all disciplines. Some are relevant, some are not relevant, but these are factors that we have to bear in mind when we undertake research. In other words, if our research methodology courses are strong and vibrant, most of these unethical research practices would vanish. So the problem is, our research methodology courses are not very strong. And when should we teach research methodology? We start very late. Only when a student takes up research, he or she is taught research methodology. No, even at the undergraduate level. Of course, you don't talk about high-level research, at least the basics of research, like plagiarism. We should talk about plagiarism even from the undergraduate days. So therefore, the remedy is strong research methodology. Fine. Now, my last slide, research in India. Okay, so we have a lot of challenges. Okay, what are the challenges? I would like to talk about 7 challenges. Now, if you are an MPhil student, your university requires 2 publications. If you are a PhD student, then the university makes it very clear, 2 or 3 publications in an indexed journal. It should be an Elsevier or Web of Science or a CARE journal. So therefore, there is the pressure to publish. Only if you submit, or only if you publish, you can submit your thesis. Even if you have completed your research, even if you have finished writing your thesis, if you do not have publication, sorry, you cannot submit your thesis. Therefore, there is a pressure to publish. And because of the pressure to publish, many students, what do? They resort to shortened practices, they resort to unethical practices, they resort to unacceptable practices. Okay, so the pressure to publish is quite strong and quite heavy, and that pushes many students to unethical practices. Now, the second one, I am happy that now the UGC has made it mandatory that all PhD dissertation submitted to Indian university should carry a certificate, and the similarity index should be mentioned very clearly. Now, this should not stop with PhD submissions alone. Even when a student submits an assignment for her UG project or PG project or a classroom assignment, that also should be subjected to a plagiarism check. So that should become mandatory, and once this becomes mandatory, then the culture of copying will come down very much, will come down drastically. The third one, the similarity index. Some universities say, oh, you can copy up to 25%. Some universities, shocking, they say you can copy up to 30%. So the UGC should come up with a uniform similarity index. 10 to 15% is okay. Okay, then as I said earlier, The course on research methodology should be made strong and vibrant. It is against this backdrop that the UGC has just introduced a 2-credit paper on research and publication ethics. Now, the last 3 points. You ask yourself, how many colleges have an ethics committee? How many universities have an ethics committee? Okay, I'm not referring to life sciences. I'm not referring to the Department of Zoology alone. In the West, whatever research you undertake, it could be in language, it could be in literature, it could be in mathematics, could be in chemistry. It has to be passed by the ethics committee, the gatekeeper. But many Indian colleges and universities, they do not have an ethics committee. Then if somebody is caught buying a thesis or for plagiarizing, what is the punishment? The punishment is lenient. So therefore, these unethical research practices go unabated or go unchecked. So therefore, it is time that we make our research methodology course very strong and infuse a culture of ethics and honesty and integrity. And this is my last slide. Cheating in higher education, especially in research, is a serious societal problem. If a doctor cheats in his or her exam, he or she turns out to be a bad doctor and will kill many patients. If it is an engineer who cheats in his or her exams, he or she will turn out to be a bad engineer and he or she will put up a bad construction. It may collapse anytime and may kill people. So similarly, students who cheat in their research, they are like bad doctors, like bad engineers, like bad lawyers, like bad nurses, like bad drivers. They are also a potential threat to society. So dear friends, that was my last slide. And I thank the organizers, particularly Dr. Anupama, for this invitation to talk on research ethics in this 2-day program on research and innovation. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'll be happy to take a few questions. Thank you.
Floor is open for questions. Any of the participants can unmute and you can ask the
Good
question.
afternoon, sir. Sir, your talk was very informative regarding unethical research. My question is, in higher education, how to control or how to monitor unethical research? Ethical committee should take responsibility or any other measures can you suggest, sir?
Okay, now the ethical committee, so that is the gatekeeper. So the primary job of the ethical committee or the gatekeeper is to check for malpractices, is to check for unethical practices. Now the second one, plagiarism check, will show very clearly whether the thesis has been copied, the thesis has been lifted out of another thesis, the thesis has been plagiarized. So that is another clear indication that will show to what extent the researcher has violated established ethical norms. And the third gatekeeper is, of course, the research supervisor. The research supervisor should inculcate a strong research ethics ethos. Okay, and the research supervisor, I think he or she will be able to find out whether the student, the research student or the research scholar is honest in his or her research. Okay, so therefore 3 measures. Number 1, the ethics committee in the higher educational institution. Then plagiarism check, which has now become mandatory in all higher educational institutions. And number 3, the research supervisor and his or her guidance. So these 3, I think, will check malpractices to a large extent. Of course, if somebody has decided to be dishonest, then nothing could be done about it. Okay, but otherwise, the external, from an external point of view, the ethics committee, that is the gatekeeper, plagiarism check, which has now become mandatory and not something optional, and the research supervisor's guidance. I think these 3 will be of great help in establishing a culture of research ethics and ethos.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, we have learned a lot of things regarding the unethical issues. That is 25 that you have mentioned in today's session, sir. That was really wonderful. And I was trying to, write up some questions to ask you about, when I was writing a question to ask you, immediately I was getting an answer from your end, and you were trying to put that in the very next slide, and you were trying to answer it. So I have got one question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
What ethical issues should I consider when I'm conducting research with students, particularly students whom I teach? Suppose if I'm doing a research in my own college with the students, like the college students, so what kind of that is the risk I can avoid, or what kind of an ethical issues that I should be considering?
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the interesting question. Now, I have already talked about it. I gave this example. Imagine you're from the Department of Gender Studies, or you're from the Department of Sociology, and you're doing a research on sexual deviant behavior. So you want to find out who are the homosexual students. I mean, this is for research, purely for research. So you have collected data, but then you keep it very confidential, so that the other students do not know that so-and-so is a gay, that so-and-so is a lesbian, because this will make life miserable for them. Or let us say somebody from the Department of Education. Okay, thank you. So someone from the Department of Education wants to find out how many students have come from broken families, and wants to correlate the fact that they come from broken families and their academic performance. So some researcher wants to study the correlation between these two. So he or she has collected data. Okay, these students have come from broken families, but that should be kept confidential. If the other students come to know of it, then they may make fun of them, and the other students, I think, they will be the butt of ridicule, and they will have a miserable life. Okay, so these are two examples. Of course, we can always think of other examples as well. So the point is, let us not make the student's life vulnerable. Okay, whatever data we have collected for research should be kept confidential and should be used for research, and only for research, and not for anything else.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I got my answer. So one more thing you just talked about, students, suppose, individuals whose data has been collected, and in case if I'm using the data for some other research, other purpose, I've collected the data for doing research only. But in case now I want to use the same data for one more research, same data I can use.
Good. Okay.
It's you say it's mandatory that I again have to inform them that I'm going to conduct one more research, okay, with the data whatever collected from the individuals.
Okay, now, okay, ma'am. So this also is an interesting question. Now, we do not have hard and fast rules. I have collected data, I have used it for research. Now I want to write one more article, or I want to carry out one more piece of research. So can I use the same data? Now, yes. The idea is two things. Number one, you should have got the participants informed consent, not just consent, informed consent. So this is a piece of research, and I will be publishing this, I will be talking about you. Of course, I will not reveal your personal identity, your name, your religion, your caste, your gender. I'll be using it only for research. Okay, fine. Now, there is another piece of research. You may go back to the participants and once again get their informed consent, or like if you feel this is a continuation of my earlier research, so therefore there is no need to obtain their consent once again. This I leave it to you. But only thing is, let us not misuse the data. So that is the point. As long as we do not misuse the data, as long as we do not reveal the identity of the participants and thereby make their lives vulnerable, then I think that there should be no problem. Okay, so this I think we should look into case by case. We cannot generalize and say this is the norm. Okay, case by case.
Doraira, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your
good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
This is Sudarshan Reddy speaking.
Yes, sir. Sir, please go ahead.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Please go ahead. I can hear you.
Hello?
Sir, you are
Pref-
audible, sir.
Yeah, fine. Yeah. Sir, your presentation is wonderful.
Thank you.
And you have not left out any aspect of research,
Okay.
at least specific to India, and gave lot of scope to think for budding researchers and budding research supervisors, even for senior supervisors. Sir, what is happening in India is it's a state of crisis as far as research is concerned in every higher educational institution, maybe except a few IITs and a couple of other universities. In every part of the institutions, there is a crisis, and UGC very recently came out with this proposal of ethics committee, so on and so forth. So there is no mechanism except this plagiarism software, which is not really doing anything positive. And unbridled copying, plagiarism is going on. And there is no one really to stop this situation. So right from universities to supervisors to the students, scholars, the all-pervading dishonesty is plaguing this area called research. Then how to prevent it? What Megan, you have mentioned, I think, lot of what you call the points to really control, maybe establish some kind of honesty in this particular area. But then I think it's not sufficient unless the research scholar is honest, unless the supervisor is honest, unless university is honest. Nothing is going to happen in this particular area. Then what else one can really do to do original research? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for the positive comments and remarks. Thank you. And you have also raised some important questions, most of which you have answered yourself. Now, apart from this, what could be done? We have an ethics committee, we have an ombudsman, we have a gatekeeper, we have plagiarism check, and we have introduced a course on research methodology. So what else could be done? Okay, now this is left to individual colleges and individual institutions and individual research centers. In other words, what I can suggest is if we can raise the standard. And what do we mean by raising the standard? For instance, I'm just giving an example. I'm just giving an example. Okay, so a thesis should be evaluated. Should the thesis be evaluated by a foreign examiner? Okay, so this has been debated in many colleges and many universities, and some universities have said, yes, we should have an external examiner, we should have a foreign examiner, whereas some other universities have said, and I have been part of their academic councils, they argued, why our Indian professors are as good as their foreign counterparts? So why insist on a foreign examiner? Why insist on an external examiner? Okay, so whether we have a foreign examiner or not, so that is not the question that I want to talk about, that I want to discuss. The point is, we have to raise the bar, we have to raise the standard. And this is what Western universities do, and this is what Ivy League institutions do. They raise the bar. Okay, so they make it rigorous. Okay, so your paper has to pass through 3 tables. Your dissertation has to be approved by a panel of 8 examiners or 6 examiners. So you make it rigorous. Only then we will be able to produce quality research. And I would place a lot of emphasis on the research supervisor and his or her responsibility. If my research scholar copies, that is a shame not only to my scholar, but a shame to me as well, because I have signed the thesis. And when I read the thesis, I can easily make out whether it is his own, her own, or whether it is copied and plagiarized. So therefore, personally, individually, I would play a lot of emphasis on the research supervisor and his or her role and his or her responsibility. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Joseph.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Joseph, sir, for the deep insights on research ethics. I now request Dr. B. Anupam ma'am, Coordinator IQAC, to present an appreciation certificate as a small token of gratitude.
Sir, please accept a certificate as a token of appreciation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I now request Ms. Salma Begum, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and member IQAC, to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon to all. I'm Ms. Salma Begum, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and member IQAC. Feel immense pleasure to take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to our eminent speaker, Professor A. Joseph Dorairaj, for sparing a time instead of his busy schedule to grace this technical session on research ethics. Sir has enlightened us on research ethics by broadly dividing his presentation into 3 sections. Sir has explained in the first section the characteristics of a good research, and in the second section, Sir explained about in detail the 25 crucial issues in research ethics, and finally thrown a light on the research misconduct in India. Thank you, sir, for making us understand how to do an ethical research. Thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Anupama, special thanks to you. Thank you very much. Nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful lecture. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon and welcome to the technical session 6. Good afternoon, Professor Suresh sir, Head Department of EEE, Basaveshwar Engineering College, Bagalkot. Good afternoon, sir. Suresh sir.
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, okay. It was
I
showing
now,
that
sir,
host. Yeah, it's coming now. Fine.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. I now request Ms. Rachna, Assistant Professor, Department of Geology, member IQAC, to introduce our today's resource person, Professor Suresh sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Rachna, member of IQAC. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker, Suresh Garu. Sir is the senior member of IEEE, Fulbright alumni, professor and head of the Department of Electrical Electronics Engineering College in Bagalkot, Karnataka. Sir has completed his PhD in wind energy in the year 2000. Sir has over 35 years of teaching experience in the undergraduate and postgraduate teaching, R&D and administration. He worked as principal, section editor, chairman in IEEE North Karnataka. He worked on 65 plus undergraduate projects and 55 plus postgraduate projects. 7 students were awarded PhD and 4 students are still pursuing their PhD under his guidance. Sir has published many journals and books, has publications in 36 international journals, 46 international conferences, 14 national conferences, and 3 online ebooks. He did many research contributions. It includes wind data analysis, optimum site matching of wind turbine generators, solar PV system sizing for river, academic campus energy management, SPV powered low voltage direct current distribution. He had organized many conferences, seminars, workshops, and short-term courses. He was honored with many awards: Best Teacher Award in 2018, Outstanding Engineer Award in 2017, Lifetime Achievement Award in 2016, Outstanding Branch Counselor Award in 2010, Technical Publication Award in 2009. Welcome you, sir. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I will share my screen. Yeah, good afternoon to all the participants, organizers. The screen is visible, madam?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Thank you. Yeah, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude to RBVRR Institute and also Anupama madam, who is the IQAC coordinator and for this particular 2-day seminar. The topic is quite interesting. It is promoting quality research in higher educational institutions. I come from a technical background, and my presentation today will be inculcating research culture through curriculum design. Most probably the touch will be towards the technical aspects, but I do not know how many participants are with technical background or even the other related areas. But however, I'll try my best now to see that what is there in my mind to share with you will be made definitely very clear. Usually I add on, shall I unmute my, I should remove my video. Yeah, video I'll remove so that streaming will be better. And how do I get rid of this right screen I was saying? Yeah, there we are. This is the quote. If you are going to achieve excellence in big things, then develop the habit in little things. This is very important. Excellence is not an exception. It is a prevailing attitude. With this quote by one Mr. Colin Powell, let me proceed ahead. Here it is. My webinar outline today will be my experience with research activities. I'll give introduction, attributes of quality research, research culture versus quality research. Then how do you go for curriculum design based on the research? It's been an aspect of today's talk. And finally, inculcating research culture. 3 case studies, including mine, I would like to present here. Can somebody tell me how to remove this right side once? Yeah, I'm able to do it. Okay. My experience with research publications till date, which I will be mentioning usually. 2000, I finished my PhD from IIT Kharagpur, and since then some 100 UG projects, 87 MTech projects, and 7 PhDs. This I am sharing because the audience also will be more comfortable with definitely listening to me. Some 39 publications in journals and 56 in total in conferences. Around 102 lakh grants I was able to get in my experience. Then some technical papers, 39 international, all that already has been told. IEEE transaction, I have 5 papers there, 3 ebooks, then technical services. I was a reviewer, I'm a reviewer for all this. Then there was one technical publication award has already been mentioned. Organized these all because this all comes from the core research. That's what I'm going to touch finally. Even during the pandemic, a lot of webinars, including today's online webinar, which has been very convenient for many of us. Well, contributions already, this in the introduction, it has been told very clearly, these are earmarked. Now, remember the main point where I am going to touch is how can we bring our research into curriculum, and can we really regulate that is very important. As of now, our curriculum is partly flexible, partly rigid, and definitely all of your faculty members and you'll be knowing the reasons for that. The syllabus is made by somebody some years ago and we continue to teach. Of course, basics remain same always. What new thing is being added will always be definitely anything you want to bring new. Initially, there will be some resistance for that, that you want to introduce. Will it be successful? How are you going to handle it? A lot of things happen. But over the years, one has to develop some acquaintances with maybe higher ups, lower ups, and the students, everything. And then we start to bring those into our curriculum. This experience is really worth implementing, and the rigidity, many of you know that, especially if you take technical institute, most of the engineering colleges, we have syllabus done long back, because the most of the principles operation remains same. But what's new with the technology coming into the text take a lot of years in these engineering colleges. There's where I come into picture to try to share my experience. I'll be showing all these contributions in the pictorial form also. 3 ebooks I was able to bring with the help of my, again, research scholars, including mine, because we have to step further, then scholars also will come further. That's always what I have found. More details I'll be covering in the coming slides. So today's topic wise, if you see, this one should realize or experience the significance of research. Research is a tool for building knowledge and for facilitating learning. Like we can't treat research separately from our regular academics or curriculum, but I find that's how it is being done nowadays, that a X person does research in a topic and he's going and teaching at his different levels on a different topic, which is already as per the syllabus. That's why. So that's where things have to be initiated from all the Indian academia. Of course, in IITs and NITs, it goes with whatever is the current research going on. They give assignments and teach that in the classes also. Research is a means to understand various issues and that increases public awareness, an aid to business success, a way to prove lies to the support the truths, means to find, gauge, and seize opportunities. Look at that, a seed of love reading, writing, analyzing, and sharing valuable information, nourishment and exercise for the mind. This is like we join as a faculty with a degree and then we upgrade ourselves and then go for research. Some of them finish research and come to the teaching line, but you all have a lot of experience, and many of you know that most of the faculty who at the entry level are graduate or postgraduate students, then they take up research later on. People with industry experience and also with research coming to academia is definitely not at the level that is anticipated. There are several reasons for that. Putting everything together, implementation of ideas, mathematical models and simulation, that's where most of the research, whether it is non-technical, technical, mathematical models and simulation, up to some extent influence the research. Performance evaluation, then technical publications, professional networking. This is where many of us will be able to meet people of our same level of thinking, higher level of thinking, even people at the who are learners also will be able to meet during these professional networking, preferably conferences. All these 2 years it was offline, online. Now I think so we should open up with the offline meeting. Even today also I am speaking and not knowing who is attending and who are there. Otherwise physically present means would have been seeing and trying to interact in a better way. All said and done, life goes on. So finally, we do literature review, do problem definition, then modeling, contribution, validation, presentation, archival. It goes to our library where it is stored, the final thesis, which is accepted, and after completion of the viva voce, I can say. So this process is common with almost all the research. Now, this modeling and contribution at this point, we can really initiate a part that is a crux or core of the thesis where new things are found. Definitely, they are not there in the text that students are reading. So I would pay more attention here. The modeling and contribution part can be taken directly to our curriculum. But what happens is, if you are under a university, university says, no, you follow these syllabus because they want to maintain common teaching, learning, evaluation to the students. But now most of the institutes are becoming autonomous, and also in what we call as the NEP, National Education Policy 2020, they do have a point that institutions should work more autonomously. That is where individuals' research can be brought into classrooms, and we should be mentally prepared. Some of us who have been practicing, and is happening in some of the institutes, but maximum institutes do not follow that. So this modeling and contribution part has to be taken out and then brought into a curriculum, like a subject with its objectives and course outcomes. All that has to be done. So when a student is doing research at this point, either the guide or the student or both have to think, yeah, this can be taken further for teaching purposes, because what is latest in the research has to be taught in the classroom. This is what I strongly believe. So that's where I think of 3 attributes of quality research, because that is the theme of the main this particular 2 days seminar. There must be a research infrastructure. Either the institute has to provide it, and I put a question mark. Will it be ready for that? Because they start an institute with one objective, then people in the institute take the entire organization to a different level. Please note this point, because it is the faculty who is very important. So research infrastructure should be there, and funding is required for that, and a lot of money goes. How much it will be useful, how much it will not be useful has to be decided. So in my presentation, I can say the research infrastructure is very important, and we have to be around that to see that our curriculum is also revolving or rotating around that. The guide is also very important. Research idea, most often he generates the idea and comes out because he's doing more of reading, more of interacting with people, more of attending conferences, and he should be able to tell or direct his scholar, okay, this is. So research infrastructure should be good, and quality guide. So I put quality behind all this: quality research infrastructure, quality research guide. And then finally, the research scholar himself. All 3 have to be on a very interesting quality levels. Then definitely you can expect. I put these as 3 attributes. This will take me to one truth table, which if you have understood the digital A, B, C, all the 3 I have put. If all 3 zeros are ruled out, if any one, that is C, scholar is good, guide is good, and you can have scholar and research guide good, no research infrastructure, or research infrastructure is, so all combinations, digital 3-digit truth table. This is, we have to have all the 3 equally good and better, And all three should have, at least a research guide and scholar should have passion to really take your work to the next level. That's what I put them as the three attributes of research quality. Now, the topic that I have been, I have selected is the research culture. Okay, this is a very critical aspect, because a culture has to be built, because it is not that a person is there in an institute, he does a quality research and then he leaves the institute or goes to some other position, higher position or anywhere, and that everything lies there unused. I have seen such cases also. They come with vibrancy, create a lot of things, and suddenly, because of their active and hyperactive activeness in research, they are pulled somewhere, or they get some higher positions where they go ahead at a top position. But what this quality, if culture is not there, definitely that particular center will be closed. So for this, I look at the outcomes of the research. If they are done in a way where it can be carried forward correctly, then it is very essential that research could continue to exist. So there must be some research grants that can be generated, usually initially by the guide, then by the scholar, and it goes on. So some research grant is always required by guides. You just can't start, because you know that research is unpaid thing in most of the institutes where we have to guide. There is it may get anything or it may not get anything, but the outcome of the research definitely will be useful for the community or society. So with this grant, a very good research infrastructure has to be planned well in advance. Usually we don't do that instantly. We apply for some of the funding and we complete it for 2 years. And then after that, what? If you put a question, that is where the guide and the guide should put in more thought process in with the help of institute authorities, that okay, this year I'll complete this, it will be used for this, a new course will be initiated, something has to be thought at this point. I'll give you case studies how it has been done. Then look at this. I am now going towards the curriculum. If you want to go towards curriculum, students require books for reading, then we must have. You can always ask them to refer to your research publications, but how are you going to assess them? The uniform assessment is required. So then the guide has to initiate writing a book with the help of the scholar before he submits. This is very important. And then you should with the help of first three, we should be able to introduce a new course. It can be a theory or a lab, or even the lab can be for internship purposes where community people come and start using it. This point is very important, introduction of a new course, and then application, product, patent, and then how it is going to be used is the fifth. These 5 things we have to check. That means the institute which is going to take up research should be prepared for this. If there is no research grant, they should initiate and benefit them. Definitely the guides have to be given some amount of the grant to motivate, encourage them, because if we simply ask them to do, definitely we all are human beings, and you know the other aspects, you are going to spend your quality time, everything. Research infrastructure, if it is already existing, you can extend it or you can start a new one. Then book has to be written, because the questions, answers, assessment related things are required. So if you put a question to any person who says, I have done research, guided so many everything, are all these done by you? Please don't take this as in an offensive way or anything. This is what is my personal view that one has to look at, that finally you may have patent or may not have, you may have product or may not have, but application is the entire facility can be used by interdisciplinary activity or anything like that. So it can be used. So these 5 usually I apply to my scholars. If they are in-house scholars, if we are full-time scholar, if we have part-time scholars, they are going again for studies and again coming back, studies, their academic work coming back only during holidays, vacations. Somehow I feel this will be delayed or it may not be fully effective, but can be tried. I said I have used the word passion. If it is there, definitely it can be done. At this point, I would like to just ask the organizers if my presentation and my speech is clear.
Yes, sir, it is clear.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Thank you. And now I enter into this curriculum design. So here I'll be just showing this diagram, which I tried creating just recently. What happens at the educational institute we should look at. And finally, you know that from any educational institute, when the student graduates, he is a professional and then goes for working elsewhere. So I have shown two parts, UG is one side, PG other side. It is common to both. And on the top, you have the greenery. At the bottom, you have the root. You know that the roots have to be strong for any person. So that's where it begins. Basic knowledge we get from our classrooms. We get technical skills through our labs, and then analytical and logical thinking through our design problems. Then we have to engage them. A teacher has to engage them. Students are going to learn. They go for internship to have the field experience. Then they have the organizational skills through professional society activities. I don't know, in most of the technical institutes, these exist, like for example,
Sir, you can continue, sir.
you are able to hear, madam?
Yes, sir, it is audible.
Because just now I think so it was muted.
Yes, sir.
Then finally, the project management. Most of the even other degree courses everywhere I see, but in some of the arts, science, arts, then the projects, what kind they give, I have not explored it fully, but these have to come into picture. That's what I feel. But technical institutes, these are existing. This is what is the route that is given to the students, which makes them a professional, we can say. So they then they graduate and look for many of the opportunities. They go into academia, they do PhD, they do R&D, they go for corporate, then industry, and then we look at this. This is where, if you can just pay attention to all these. If this is a very old one, which you are only trying to teach the students, then we are sending some old thing, students with a very old, like many a times when we're discussing, we say we are 20 years behind the most advanced countries in the curriculum that we are doing. Of course, IITs may be teaching the current research, but if you go to any university affiliated college, there is a fixed syllabus, only that is taught. I'm sure most of you will agree, but this has to be. Now, here is the teacher's role, we can say. A teacher who has updated himself with the latest thing that is going on, then the students are learning the latest things. If we are with what is going on, we are not upgrading, we are not attending, we are not going out, knowing what is new, then definitely these things will have a setback. Students have to learn a lot on their own when they go into these places. Clear? That's how now I'm sure most of you will understand how our research ideas, thoughts, and quality thing that we have brought in, if you try to bring those here as the basic knowledge in the classroom level, definitely at the lab level, it will be taken further. Students will at least would have seen. They may not become expert, but they will know that, oh, I have touched this, I have seen this, I have read this, I have experienced something like that, they will be able to tell. So here is where I'm trying to bring in our research. Many a times I remember having argument with my own, some of my colleagues who are retired and gone, and many of them who are existing. They tell, oh, what is the use of your PhD at the undergraduate level? And this is where I say, this is the thing what we can make the difference here. If you want to know But just by merely reading a magazine or journal, it doesn't come. We have to sit, we have to work, we should have implemented, we should have developed. Then we are going to develop the students to a bigger level, whether it is art, science, commerce, whichever it is. The latest thing that is existing, one has to be known to the teachers inside the classroom, because within those four walls, all changes can be made and more stronger. I strongly believe this. So with this information, I'll quickly go ahead with the case studies, how it makes a difference. I'm going to, so I myself, I'll put myself, my work as the first case study, then two of my scholars case study. I'll run through this because I started the webinar at almost 12:35. It's already 1:04. 1:15 I should be able to, because it will be lunch time and I should not hold you for that, because the moment mind gets a signal from stomach, then mind would not continue to listen further. That I strongly believe. Please bear with me for a couple of slides more. Case study one, my own thing. I did my PhD at IIT Kharagpur. My thesis was optimum site matching of wind turbine generators based on turbine performance index. My supervisor is Dr. V. Guru Prasad Rao. Of course, he's not there as of now. Then over these years, this grant I was able to get, not because I started it fresh, because I did research, and based on that, I was able to generate this. Then infrastructure that has been created on my campus, any of you who are in nearby this place, Bagalkot, which is in North Karnataka, you can always come and see this. In 2007, I started a renewable energy park. You remember 2000, 2007, it takes time, nothing happens overnight, instantly. In a renewable energy park with which became a very popular amongst the community. Then Renewable Energy Research Center we set up and scaled up for distribution in 2015. So after this and a lot of other works went on, then we did this. I'll show you the quick photographs also. Then wind energy infrastructure that was created is on our campus. We have 50-meter wind mast, 1.5 kilowatt horizontal axis wind aerogenerator. Then we have 150 watt 7S helical blade vertical axis wind turbine, anemometers, weather station. It is put. Now this is the infrastructure. Remember, I mentioned 5 things. When we do research, we have to get grants. We have to create infrastructure. Second point. Now third one is book. 3 books are already there, but material is there. These books are e-books, not the books which we see. Then I mentioned we have to introduce a subject. This is very important aspect of our studies. I forgot to create the link for this. I have created link for the laboratory internship. I'll show you this. So a laboratory link. These are the experiments that students do here, and internship they do this. I'll not go much deeper into this. I just wanted to show you that these are existing. You should apologize me that my subject syllabus, I have kept it ready. I could not create the link. Then 3 PhDs did in this laboratory using these facilities which we have created. That means extension of my work. So already subject is introduced. I'm teaching my subject. This is very important that we should teach our research in the classroom. That is going to give us more, more ideas and thoughts. And there are students listening and they're going to ask questions. So because through these labs, 14 MTech projects, 19 BE projects using this wind energy conversion related infrastructure, which I showed in my previous slide. Several publications have come across. What is the community service, knowledge dissemination, skill training, internships? People come and ask, farmers do come to us. That we'll see through one more presentation. Industry collaboration, because all this infrastructure was there for people to see who visited our campus on our board of studies, academic council. Ours is the autonomous institute. So they saw our flags, facilities, and they readily agreed to have understanding with us. And we have PRDC Bengaluru, then Flexitron Bengaluru, AG Electro Services Karate, and HESCOM Hubballi. They have signed MOU, and our students have direct access to these for internship or interaction purposes. And people from there also come and interact with our students. So this is the infrastructure which I am now showing here: 50-meter wind mast, vertical axis, horizontal axis wind turbine, and there is a weather station. This is literally there in 2013. This was done. The photograph itself shows. Then this is the SCADA for distribution automation lab, which we created. Entire campus energy management we are able to do. Then single line diagram, load flow studies, the short circuit studies, all using our own data, which is available. Students can sit here and work. Then we have this renewable energy research lab center created. You can look at the behind all the projects are displayed, which students have done. This is a vertical axis wind turbine where this control, and we can use this. Artificial wind is generated for performance analysis. Then this is a renewable energy research center, a part of that for studying the energy efficiency of the lights, or how we can do energy conservation using lighting. You can see again some more posters, banners on the walls. Then this is the renewable energy park, the first thing that I was able to create. And you can see all these thermal devices, photoelectric devices, and a new lab has come up here, which I'll be showing in the. So this is what infrastructure is created, book is written, subject is introduced, and the thesis is being taught. Community, it is helping the community service. That's what you can say. My second case study is my third research scholar. Now he is Dr. Raghuram L. Naik. Okay, this is again interesting. I guided him, and then how it was taken further, you can see here. Scholar is R.L. Naik. He did on 3-level neutral point clamped voltage source converter for grid connection of wind turbines. So my wind turbine, my research on wind turbine, I extended because he was expert in power electronics, and choosing the scholars also plays a vital role. He was awarded in 2015. And then he's presently a professor in our department full-time. Look at that. He has again generated almost, recently he got another 20 lakhs. So this becomes 57 lakhs. Just day before yesterday, he received a letter. Then laboratory, he has established one lab through the first research, FPGA-based power electronics drives application. Then book, I'm still waiting. He's yet to, but he has already brought a subject introduced. He has taught it at our MTech level. You can see the syllabus. It is here. The syllabus, it is a 3-credit course. All the syllabus. The way I'm showing is it is implemented. That's what I'm trying to just show you. You can see all the assignment questions he has created. Wonderful on unit wise. So this gives, it's like it is more than a book, you can say. Now he is guiding a PhD. One full-time scholar is there. MTech scholars he has guided. Publications we have got. He has initiated industry collaboration. Now look at that infrastructure which we used and created a new infrastructure, a book, a subject. Way I'm saying is a curriculum has to come through this. In over a period of 10 years, definitely if an institute minds, it can have a new curriculum totally, because a scholar takes 4 to 5 years to complete. So even in 4 to 5 years, we have to regulate our syllabus also. This is the lab in which a separate room, our college authorities have been very liberal in giving space for setting up these labs, because the role of college authorities, thanks to our principal, chairman, they have been always looking for what's new that our people are going to do. And this is what is created. You can see some of the students working, classes being engaged, all that I have put it for you. This is the, you can say, verifiable evidence of the impact of the research done. This is what you can always keep in mind. Then the last case study, I'll be completing, closing my presentation. I'm in time, definitely. Another 3 minutes remaining. Case study.
Sir, you can continue, sir.
Yeah. No, I don't know, because yeah.
We already have a short break for 10 minutes in the middle, sir. So
Sure.
continue.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. And this is the third case study. Dr. Basanugada Ronald, F. Ronald, now is doctor. He started his work on optimum sizing of SPV powered irrigation systems based on field conditions. A case study was done for river bed pump set. Look at this. Solar photovoltaic definitely was not my area, but by that, these 10 years from 2000 to 2010, I had developed some expertise in this, and took him as a very young scholar, and in 4 to 5 years, he was able to complete. By 2018, he was able to get a 9 lakh grant as a seed money from TechCube 3, and recently he on his own also was able to get another additional 3 lakhs for setting up a small infrastructure. This is what is required, and he created a laboratory solar DC irrigation pump system demonstrable. He published a book, of course, with me, which I showed 3 books. This is one of that. Optimum sizing, on that only it is. Then he is presently the professor in our department. This is what he introduced a subject. I'll show you the subject here. Here it is, you can see. Sustainable energy technologies in agriculture engineering. Again, this is a 4 credit course, I think so. Yeah, 4 credit subject code literally introduced, because I want people to know this is just not being said, it is actually being implemented. Prerequisites, course objectives, course outcomes, the syllabus, entire complete syllabus, and the other references and books that can be referred. Then a set of questions he was able to prepare. Yeah, of course, I was after them that they have to create it with all COs, POC, the question papers, questions, all that is because fair assessment is required by the faculty, and even assignment questions, huge, big set of assignment question bank, because this is very much required because students always look for a book, then old question papers, or even the assignment questions which are answered. This, he has given me one more which I have not shared, where all the answers are there for all these questions, 64. Look at the resource that these young people have created. So now he has guided 6 MTechs, 4 BE projects using this facility. Other projects they are guiding, because students come with their own projects also. And students who look at the profile of the teacher, they come and tell, sir, give me a project in your facility. So that's what is created, publications. He has, with the help of some students, they are able to develop Android app for IP sizing. So his core work was in that. So in that he has developed a Android app. Industry collaboration, again with Flexitron, he has worked, helped me there. ProLight Systems, a new one he took. Hydromech Engineers Bangalore, that he has already created, has good reputation with them. This is the facility. In that energy park, what we saw, this was missing. You can see these are the solar arrays are there behind. There are 3 DC irrigation pumps here, and you can see the water flowing also. We circulated the water here. The main application of his research, what we see is, earlier they were using our regular electricity to pump water from the bore wells to the overhead tanks. So we are now pumping from the solar photovoltaic the water to the overhead tanks. So that's where the application of the research comes into picture. Clear? So I have to express my gratitude too, because the scholars have to also continue working. The guide has to work. The infrastructure has to be there, and authorities have to support. All this we're lucky that we're able to get and create. This is where I mentioned to say that a curriculum can be developed. Look, 3 subjects, even solar photovoltaic energy conversion I've introduced, and many other subjects were introduced. For this seminar, I chose these 3 with facts and figures, all the information. Okay, you can see the works going on. Students enjoy working with live and practical systems. Some of you may be there where practically or physically may not be working, but we can always create a infrastructure for any research that I strongly believe. Fine. So with these 3 case studies, my final this is an app they have developed for agriculture irrigation pump using irrigation. So to summarize, research should be done with passion. I went very fast. I was not slow, because I knew I have to keep up the time, whatever is given to me, because mentally and psychologically and physically, we all are students learning. And if time crosses, some inconvenience or listening goes now, I didn't want that to happen. So research should be done with passion. It needs commitment, dedication, hard work, and sacrifice. Why I use the word sacrifice in capitals is, remember, all of you have families, all of you will have community, you will have relatives, and then definitely you will have to stay for some time away from them to get quality research. So we can't keep everything together. This part of sacrifice definitely will be done by the family members. Maybe you may miss children, you may miss out your parents, you may miss out your family, everything, time, I'm saying. So, but finally, they will also enjoy what final contribution is done. That's for sure. That's I strongly believe. So with this, I went very fast, I know. I definitely would like to share this leisurely if there is any opportunity, any other institute or anything, but this requires separate 2 hours time to learn in depth, in detail what has been done. Fine. With this, I close my presentation, and let me know if there are any interactive questions and some questions which can also help us create or inspire us and motivate us. Thank you. I thank the organizers, especially Anupama Madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Suresh, sir. The floor is open for the questions.
Yeah.
Participants, could please unmute yourself? Any of the participants?
I do not know if they would have, because much is, I mean, I went to more of a technical side. I'll stop this sharing screen. Yeah.
Renuka, ma'am.
Yeah, sir. Good afternoon, Dr. Suresh, sir. That was really fantastic. You have told us case studies where your students have done such a wonderful work and they have got good funding. That's really appreciable, sir. Sir, I just would like to have a 1 minute small debate on culture through curriculum design, sir. See, basically what happens is that when we talk about colleges where, you know, the faculty, the teachers are trying to strive to see that students learn lot of things in the classroom. But the students' focus is only on scoring marks. Students' focus is only on how they get important questions. Student focus is only on how to get the notes from the faculty. They hardly open the textbook. They hardly go to the library. They hardly, you know, look into the textbooks. On an average, if I just do a research, not even, you know, the 50% of the class, you know, read something. They don't even open the textbook. Suppose we have a syllabus. We talk about curriculum. We have a syllabus. In the syllabus, we have 5 units. Out of 5 units, suppose we give 5 books to them. Not even, you know, on an average, 50% of students don't know the textbooks names which are mentioned in the reference list, sir. So such a pathetic, I'm not talking about my college as such, I'm just talking in general. This is what happens in the education system. Like, you know, I'm not degrading, but I'm trying to talk facts and figures. I'm not criticizing. The point here is that, sir, how can we bring in a change? Because we as a faculty and the teachers are the change makers and the change takers. So how do we, you know, bring this change, okay, to our students, that they start open the books, they start read the books, they start, you know, understand that lot of things are available, like, no, in the books. And now the system has really gone a little bit bad after the online. So, you know, so can you please, you know, give some good ideas, suggestions, and give good thoughts on how can we, you know, strive to see that the students are at least, you know, looking into the information available with them, and they, you know, come out with good thoughts, good ideas, and they force us, you know, to ask, you know, they ask so many questions, and they trouble us to know that the teachers have to learn so many things and go to the class.
I'm sure this today's presentation definitely opens up new things for many of the faculty. I also mentioned very clearly that it is the passion of the teacher that what can do. But For technical institutions, this will be true that when an infrastructure is created, like for example, wind energy, when I say, they have to listen to me in the class, whatever I'm teaching related to wind energy, that is my research. They have to go and conduct experiments in the infrastructure which is created. They have to write examination based on this. So naturally, if it is like earlier, if suppose if I had not done research in wind energy, and if I had not created infrastructure, if I had not written a book, then I would have told them to simply go somewhere or read somewhere or which is available or written by somebody. So I strongly believe that it may take another 10 to 15 years or 20 years, where the faculty's orientation with NEP coming into picture, the faculty members, if they are there in the institute for at least 10 to 15 years, because if the faculty changes continuously, this will not be possible. But he has to see that either at the university BOS level or at the his own college, autonomous institute BOS level, these subjects have to be officially accepted and introduced, which you had done in our campus. So that's why we find the effectiveness of these subjects very much. And finally, when students want to do a project, we tell them, take these projects, you can go and do it. So this is how they are around our research work. And if you look on the other side, whether it is undergraduate, postgraduate or anything, they are always looking for a job. Now, where are these jobs? Jobs are available in the industry. What is the industry looking for? These skills. Then we tell them, with these skills, you are going to get a job. Then they are going to read. Now, this aspect has to be initiated by the teachers. So that's why the onus lies more on one side, if it is teacher, on the other side, it is the administration, college administration. I strongly believe that administration has to encourage. And with regard to the university affiliated colleges, this part working will be very difficult because it involves again a lot of money there. So this really becomes debatable as you have initiated. Thank you for that. But if it comes to the technical institutes, I will show these examples. See, it can be done this way. And so there are some basic courses for which, like say, for example, Newton's law. We can develop something to demonstrate Newton's law. A new thing can be done. It can be created, whether it is a science college, any college, any institute, it can be done. But for that funding is required. Yeah, ideas are required. Researching is required. This is where this is my thought process for this. I hope you agree.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
This is Ingala from RBVRR Women's College. Sir, you explained many applications based on solar photovoltaic technology. Can you suggest any applications based on solar thermal technology, sir?
Yeah,
apart from solar water heaters and cookers.
Yeah. In fact, I did not show all the projects that we have guided. Solar water heater, new type of solar water heater we have developed. Then box cooker, we have worked. IoT based box cooker we have developed. Then we have a solar dryer is there. Then many thermal devices are there on which it is taught as a part of the subject and students are given assignment. Madam, you raised a very good question. Lot of solar applications, including RO system also we are driving using solar photovoltaic, of course.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it can be done.
Our students are doing some projects using solar panels, sir. Solar mobile chargers and other things. But
I could have listed some 10-15 innovative projects we have done. I thought because of 1 hour time, I did not list those projects. Very interesting projects I have done. Definitely, we can have. I can share them with you, or we can have some presentation to describe those to you and your students also.
Can you contact afterwards, sir? Regarding this.
Please, madam, you can contact me anytime. No problem.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, there is one more question in the chat box by the Shireen. Sir, can tell us how to motivate advanced and slow learners to take case study to have better understanding of the topics rather than normal questions?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question that has been raised. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm not getting the name who asked that. But anyway, most of you are experiencing this, because even when I entered this engineering college, we had students from rural area, students from urban cities also. Definitely, we find a lot of change there. What I usually in my classes do for the slow learners is, if we don't address them, they will lag behind. That is one part. Second is, they will try to simply, if assignments, anything is there, copy from them and finish it off. Such things will be done. But to bring them along with our fast learners, see, fast learners would always say, why I have to slow down? That is for sure. Slow learners would not say that I have to go fast. So again, it is the teacher's passion to try to put these slow learners, if you are able to identify who score less, can we give them extra assignments or repetition work? I have found this will be really helping. Like, for example, every time I finish my CIE tests, I tell everybody has to answer all the questions which are there referring to books, and they have to write. Never mind, even if they copy, but even while they are copying, they are reading something is entering their mind, and we should believe them, because we can't expect them to create wonders overnight, but they are able to learn. And in 4 years, how much they will be able to learn, or in 3 years, how much they are able to learn. If you see all this, then making them to know what is where and where they can get when they go to a job. For searching purpose, at least they should know where they can get the information. Everything is not available on Google, but in some cases, they have to go to the company library, or they have to interact with the experienced person. These aspects, at least through getting some expert speakers, sending them to some exhibitions and all, I have tried, and these work, and putting them for repetition work will always help, madam. But beyond this, any formal way of handling them, usually we don't find, because we also have limited time and they also have limited time, and authorities would be saying you have to finish, and there is we are in the window of limitations. We have to finish within that time. So spending more time for them will definitely, or if they say, if they are ready to say, okay sir, this subject is difficult for me, we say drop them out. You can take them in the at the end of we'll have a supplementary semester. We tend to try in the supplementary semester, focus on these subjects, you'll be better off, something like that we say, rather than taking everything and failing. Some things have worked like that, counseling also. Fine. I hope I have tried to touch this part.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Renuka Sagar ma'am, Dr. Shakuntala madam, and Shireen for the active participation. So I now request Dr. B. Anupama ma'am, the coordinator IQAC, to present an appreciation certificate as a small token of gratitude. Sir, please do accept.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
So please accept our certificate as a token of appreciation.
Sure. Thank you, madam. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Very nicely made.
I now request Ms. Rachna, Assistant Professor, Department of Geology, member IQAC, to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, one and all. I, K. Rachna, Lecturer, Department of Zoology and Microbiology, RBVRR Women's College, and member of IQAC. On behalf of IQAC, it's my privilege to have been asked to propose vote of thanks for this session on today's National Seminar on Promoting Quality Research and Innovation in Higher Educational Institutions. I extend my heartfelt thanks for the resource person, Suresh H. Jangamshetty, sir, Professor, HOD EEE, Basaveshwar Engineering College, Sir has focused on his topic, inculcating research culture through curriculum design. Research is a seek to love reading, writing, analyzing, and sharing valuable information. Sir has enlightened us in the research contributions. To go from UG to PG, we should expose students to professional society activities, internships, analytical and logical thinking. And Sir said research should be done with passion, commitment, dedication, hard work, and sacrifice. Really, these words are very important in the research field. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation, sir. Make this seminar interesting, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
madam.
ma'am, for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Rachana. Thank you, Professor Suresh sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'll be leaving the presentation. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Thank you, sir. I request all the participants to join at 3 p.m. for valedictory session with the same Zoom link.
We are sharing feedback.
And I request all the participants to please fill the feedback form, which is posted in the chat box.
అప్పుడు పెట్టాను
ఏముందబ్బా చాట్ లో లింక్ ఫిల్ करना ना